who's cracking beer? What up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back here. I know it's been a while since we streamed the whole 10 days, but we're back. And it is 2 days, less than 2 days of the go in the year, new year. And we have our best and worst movies of 2023 all wrapped up and ready to go. And I got a whole bunch of people joining me here for tonight's show to talk about some of the movies that we absolutely loved and some of the movies that we absolutely hated. Spoiler alert, we're probably going to enjoy more talking about the films that we didn't like this year because there wasn't a whole lot that we did like. But joining us here on the show right now, I guess we can go ahead with a Rolodex real quick. I got a good buddy, Meffistoe Movie Reviews. How are you doing today? Joining us on
I'm good. Show. I'm good. Just finished up the last show of 2023. Covered the Return of the King, part of the whole trio we did the whole month with Robert Meyer Burnett and Stone Loki, and it was a lot of fun and not a lot of talk about the movie itself.
Well, I too like Star Wars, so I mean, that's
no, we went all over the place. Mostly us griping about movie making and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, man, you talking about Return of the King. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen those movies, but I feel like those movies still hold up compared to a lot of the movies that we'll probably talk about here tonight. So
yeah, we went all into that aspect of the movie making, pre-production, storyboarding, stuff that is supposedly done for every movie, but evidently it's not in modern films.
Not at all. Also joining us here tonight, our good buddy Money Man Rob Motto is back with a brand new super expensive microphone.
Yeah, I just hit the shock mount with my hand because I'm an idiot. I think that 2023 was better than pretty much every year since 2019. I think it was another little, hey, we can still trot them out when we try kind of years since 2021, 2022, 2020 were really bad. So I'm at least grateful that we got some movies that were decent this year, and next year looks not great. So I'm just trying to be grateful at the moment as we end 2023.
Also joining us once again back on the show, our good buddy Christian Toto. How you doing today, Christian?
I'm good. You know, I actually struggled. I didn't struggle, but usually I have so many worst of choices, and this year I didn't. I feel like there were a lot of mediocre movies, and listen, The Marvels was not good, but I didn't put it on my list. So I don't know. Well, I think my best of is going to turn some heads in a weird way.
Oh, I guess we'll have to wait for that. Also joining us, I think this is a second appearance here on our channel, but our good buddy Brahmabull is here joining us. How you doing today, Brahma?
This is actually the first time I've been on. So
Really? I would assume that there was one appearance like months ago that I forgot, but
I've been in the Twitter group since you started it. I just haven't ever been able to make a show. So yeah, I'm interested to see what all of you guys have on your list, because I mean, Christian, you're a big name. Rob, good to see you. I know Mephisto very well, so I'm definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say on some of these, because I just kind of went with how I felt about them, not anything with box office. Some of the movies didn't even hit the box office that I've got on my best of list. So we'll see how it goes.
I've had that's the same thing on my list too. And I guess we should wrap things up with the schlubs here. Our good buddy Rick is here. How you doing there, Rick?
Hey,
Yeah, I'm the one that nobody's ever heard of. So yeah,
I've heard,
I
of
heard
you,
of you.
thank you.
You're on the Barroom podcast every week.
Yeah. To be fair, people know Rob because half of Twitter has blocked Rob, and it has nothing to do about it. So that's the deal.
I think I've only been blocked by 2 people, and and one of them's no longer on Twitter. So X or what?
There you go.
Yes, I'm a lovable fellow. Rob's just a misanthropic millennial, but we love him here. I'm doing good. I did not. I'm like Christian. I did not struggle for my best. In fact, my best of just got a new number one, just a few hours ago. But my
Aquaman?
worst. No. No. But but I will say that my worst actually has quite a few comic representations. But surprisingly enough, Ant-Man did not make the list. I was shocked when I made it out.
Well, we'll get to that here. And of course, making her quarterly appearance here on the channel is our good buddy Sarah Hargett. How you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm sick, but I'm here. So I'm glad to be here.
Just joining us there. She's making it through today. There's a lot of people that came in sick at the very last minute here, but Sarah's a trooper. She's a real woman, unlike a lot of other people who may or may not be throwing out here by name through the show.
Or throwing under the bus.
Beep beep. Yeah. Who else we got here in the chat right now? We got Spencer joining us at the moment. We got Top Dog joining everyone, saying what's up, guys. What's up to you too. Brahmabull is here. Yep. So our good buddy Bad Take Bojan is here as well. She was supposed to join us here tonight, but she is feeling under the weather. And like I said, it's going around at the moment, right at the very end of the year. So stay warm and stay toasty, friends. And then like I said, we're now on Rumble, we're on Twitch, not Twitch, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. All 3 platforms going simultaneously. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. I want to talk about some good movies of 2023 before we start really going in on the bad movies here. So apparently some of you guys struggled to find good movies in 2023, and I find that just to be a little bit shocking. But Mephisto, I'll go ahead and start this one off for you, my friend. You said that you had a little bit of a list here for the best movies of 2023. What was kind of your general feeling on the year of movies? And I guess we can start with you. What did you think of some of the best films of this year?
Generally speaking, there were some good films this year. It wasn't a bad year. It was just a bad box office year, I think. But I'll give you mine. I'll start with something that many people that I've seen throughout this current week and a half that kind of people do these wrap up shows is Sisu. Sisu came out, I think early January of this year. And it kind of flew by. The Drinker gave it a high praise, and Nerdrata gave it a high praise. I've seen here and there people enjoying it. I saw the movie. It was really, really good. For a movie that your main character isn't talking throughout the movie, just saying that 5 sentences at the end of it, and still he's a badass. Phenomenal action movie. It's just it's a period piece, it's an action movie, and it's just goes balls to the wall. Whatever they did with John Wick, just do it a little bit more gritty and move it to World War II. That's Sisu.
Did somebody kill his dog?
It's a Finnish film, but they talk mostly in English. So
Nazi bad, guys. Nazis bad. And that's look,
Shock.
and that's what drove me away from that movie. Why I didn't want to see it. I was like, oh, hey guys, we're the Nazis are the bad guys. So I will definitely check out Sisu, but yeah, my John Wick is my number 10 pick for best movie of the year. It was one of the best theater watches of the year. I was entertained. I don't remember, was it 3 hours or just short of 3 hours, but I was pretty entertained for the whole time. It does have that really dumb falling down the steps thing at the end, which I was like, really? Can we get past this, please? And I thought that what's his name? Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård was a really cartoonish villain. Didn't enjoy that too much, but all in all, just a tremendous action movie, theater watch. Incredibly well choreographed from start to finish. So I thought that they sent that character off real well, and now of course they're talking about bringing him back, which can you just let it go? It's a nice ending, it's a good movie, it's a good way to send him off. Let's just stop.
I actually like this
Rob,
format.
I know that they're gonna have a spin-off. Sorry.
I was gonna say I actually like this format of just getting everyone's like number 10 out of the way, like on one session right there. So go ahead, Rick, with your number 10, I guess.
Oh, my number 10 is probably a documentary not many people saw. Werner Herzog, Radical Dreamer. It really does give you an insight into his mind and into his creative process. You learn a lot about him, and it's he's kind of become a cult figure, not just cinematically, but just nothing is as soothing as this German speaking words of doom and despair. I don't know how that happened, but no, I've loved him ever since I saw Aguirre, Wrath of God, and he's just made a great series of films. So we do learn a lot about him and his past and his life and careers. I was impressed. It cracked my 10.
All right, Brahma. How many do you have for your best? I guess we should start off with their review. Like, how many did you manage to cycle together?
I got 10 on each of them.
All right, then. Well, let's go ahead with your number 10 then.
Yeah, number 10 for me for best was Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1. Not the greatest Mission Impossible movie, but I mean, they're all pretty good fun. I mean, I thought this one was good enough to not put it in the stinker pile. The stinker pile has some that you guys might have on your good list, because if it was bad, I just didn't go see it this year, and I'm not putting anything on the list that I didn't actually see myself. So, but Mission Impossible, Vanessa Kirby always helps a movie, so always gets the ratings up for me.
I was the only one that thought that she had more screen presence than the other chick did in that film. Was that
Haley Atwell? Or
yeah, Haley Atwell. Yeah.
Well, Kirby's the better actress anyway, so I'm not surprised by that. But Kirby was actually in my favorite movie of like nothing played that year. I think it was 2021, Pieces of a Woman. I think Scorsese produced it, but she's a really good actress, so I'm glad that she's getting more work.
Yeah, she made my good list and my bad list this year.
We'll get there in a second. Christian, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, for the best of, I've got 7. So I don't know how that works out or shakes out. I'll mention one, and I'm sure no one has seen this movie. I thought it was a charming comedy. It was smart. It was unpredictable. I kept expecting it to drop off and the laughs to go away or the ending to come up short, and it didn't. And no one's seen it. It's called Reopening, and it was on Blaze Media. So they acquired the film. It was produced elsewhere, and they just scooped it up. And it's almost like Waiting for Guffman, but it's set during COVID. And this small theatrical group, they have no talent whatsoever, but they love making shows. And they have to put on a show during COVID. So they got the masks and they got plastic tarp all over. It is just smart and enjoyable and sweet. And it's satirical without being heavy-handed and without being mean. It's a really good movie.
All right. I know Sarah says that she only has a couple at the moment. I did kind of bully her coming on the show here, so I'm just going to wait just a little bit for Sarah to come on. And I will give you guys my number 10 movie as we wait for Paulie to come in. But this is one that me and Rob kind of split on earlier this year, but I still held up pretty strong when I was making this list. It was a movie called Sympathy for the Devil with Nicolas Cage and Joel Kinnaman. It was a film that came out, I think it was like a VOD release. It didn't get an official theatrical release, but essentially the setup there is that you have two characters. One one called The Passenger, one called The Driver. Nicolas Cage is the passenger. Kellerman's character is essentially trying to go see his wife as she's giving labor to their child. Nicolas Cage holds him at gunpoint, forces him to drive away, and it's just very like I want to say somewhat of a bottle film because they're really the only two characters in the movie. But you start to see like the story unfold between the two of them. It's like, why is Cage doing all this, and is Kellerman essentially the character that the audience think that he is? And one of the things I really liked about the film, like I said, I love those small budget type of films where it really focuses more on character driven stuff or anything else. But with a very, very small budget, I think visually it looked great. There was a lot of great set pieces for the film. And it's one of those films where I went back and thought to myself, there's so much that was working for it that if Hollywood really got back to more of that, bare bones style of filmmaking where it's a lot more intimate, it's a lot more engaging, especially for audiences, rather than have like $200 million green screen blood films, like this could turn around like the industry. And like I said, I just don't know how this didn't get a theatrical release. It's definitely good enough. It deserves one. So that'll be my number 10 film of the year. So I guess we should shoot over here to number 9 as we wait for Paul to come back. Who has number 9 for the year?
Because I have to leave in a bit. Why don't I give you my entire list and you can go by everybody's 9s.
Go ahead.
Next one for me is Tetris. It's an Apple film. It took me a while to get a hold of it. I didn't want to sail the high seas for it. Seen it about a month ago. It's great. Egerton, the guy who did Kingsman, is in it. Yeah. It's a great story about the sort of the origins, very dramatic, stylized version of how Tetris came to the West. It's surprisingly a great film about a video game, which you don't normally get. And I was quite surprised because I heard so much like good things about it. But when I actually saw it, hit the mark for me. Next one for me is Nefarious. Jacob just talked about small budget films that don't have a lot of characters and not a lot of set pieces. Nefarious is that. Great thriller, horror, not really horror, but it is marked as one, but it's great little thriller and a great sort of talk between the unbeliever and the devil or a demon, and you don't really know if he's there or not there, or he's not the demon or is the demon, and you do get to find out. And sort of a redemption story for a guy who lost his faith. A very interesting movie. Next one for me is Oppenheimer. That I'm a sucker for a good biopic, and that one was really well made, regardless if it's not the real story or is the real story. If you're going through like too much of one side of it, one aspect of his personality or the other one, I thought it was a solid movie and great prequel to Godzilla -1. No, just kidding. So I really like it. And the last one is a popcorn movie for me. It's Mission Impossible. I'm not really big on the Mission Impossibles. The only one I truly liked was the first one. The other ones are like, to me, it's like a solid popcorn movie. Most of them I actually saw like when they came on Netflix. I did like Fallout though, so that kind of got me excited to see this one. Liked it. I think I gave it an 8 on my review, but today I'm going to give it a 7. Really like it. And yes, Vanessa Kirby is a much better actress in this one in particular, and she had a better role because she played sort of the villain rather than the good gal. So she had a lot of, meat on the bones to play with.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least you actually saw the movie, unlike some people on this panel who refuse to watch Mission Impossible because he's been boycotting it for 30 years now. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I would say this for me, it wasn't like I didn't like the last Mission Impossible movie. I just think it was such a step down from Fallout. I couldn't really compare it on the same level as Fallout. I think Fallout is arguably probably the best one that they've done so far. I just really enjoyed that one. And yeah, this one didn't hit well for me. Who knows? Maybe when we get part 2 next year, that it'll kind of make up for it. But like I said, we have to see part 2 to kind of figure out how this whole thing's going to end. So. Rob, I can shoot back over to you here, number 9. What you have on your list for best film movies of the year?
Yeah, so this was a movie that kind of caught me by surprise. I definitely did not see it coming. I was thinking of skipping it just because it's like I had so much on my plate here at the end of the year. But number 9 for me is The Iron Claw, the movie by Sean Durkin, who I didn't know this until after the fact, but he's on like one of my favorite podcasts, the Brady Snellis podcast, like 3 years ago, and was talking about making this movie, The Nest, with Jude Law and Carrie Coon. So I've literally listened to the guy talk about movies. I actually want to go back and kind of dive back into that. But this was an incredible movie. Zac Efron probably won't get nominated for Best Actor, but he gives a tremendous performance. I think Jeremy Allen White is very good. I think the guy who plays the father, Colt McNally, I believe is his name. If I screwed that up, I apologize. I think he's very good as the patriarch. And it's not, and like it didn't hit me until into the second hour what the movie really was about and where it was taking us. And I thought it did it in such a smart way. It's not heavy-handed. It's not super obvious. It's little by little you sort of see the weight get added on to all of these brothers, these incredibly talented, remarkably gifted, boys that this guy. And it's an unbelievably heartbreaking movie. The performances are great. I think it has a few missteps here and there to be considered one of the absolute best of the year. But I think that this is going to be a movie that people watch for years to come. I think it's something that appeals to a large and diverse audience, something that people of all walks of life can appreciate and gravitate towards. So I'm very happy, very pleased when that happens as a movie critic, when you get surprised by a movie, when something sneaks up on you like that. So very happy to have seen that this year.
All right. Real quick before we go to Rick here, I wanted to jump in. Our good buddy Paulie the Latino Slant also joining us here on the show tonight. How you doing, Paulie?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Howdy. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Paulie.
So we're just rolling down some of our best films of the year right now. We're on number 9, and we're jumping over to our buddy Rick.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, my number 9 film is Air. A bit like with Rob, I was surprised. I didn't think that I was going to like it, but I ended up liking it, even though I understand some people do. Oh, it's just a commercial basically for Michael Jordan and the sneaker. But I saw it as more of a celebration of men who are willing to pursue the idea of getting the best product for them, for a pursuit of their job, and they're willing to work hard for it. That's how I saw it. I thought it had pretty solid performances from people. I don't see anyone getting nominated in that way. For like, even there was talk for like, what was it? I can't remember her name.
Viola Davis?
The mother.
Oh yeah.
Viola Davis. Thank you. I couldn't. I was going to call her the Woman King, but that's not right.
Don't assume his gender.
Oh, that's right. Well, I really liked it. I mean, it's like mid-level, like pretty standard film. Nothing like wow extraordinary, but I liked it. I was entertained by it. I really can't fault it for doing that. So it's like it managed to crack the top 10 for me.
All right then, Brahma, what you got on yours?
My number 9 was actually Super Mario Brothers. I thought it was just a great kids movie. I didn't feel that it did much for some of us nostalgia guys, but they threw in the Easter eggs and they stayed pretty true to a Mario type story. And there was nothing offensive about it to me. I know there was the argument about Princess Peach, but I don't see that one. So
yeah, I don't give any credence to that either.
Yeah, I mean it's a video game movie, so they had a good plot for making out an actual Mario movie, and I enjoyed the Easter eggs, and my kids really liked it, so it made the top 10 this year.
There we go. Christian, what you got?
Another movie that no one has seen, but it's a documentary called The Fall of Minneapolis. And it really is a stunning document. It looks at George Floyd, his death, the fallout, the autopsy, but it starts with George Floyd's the last moments of his life. But they had these body cam videos, which we haven't seen before. We saw the neck on the knee. We've seen all that, but this is everything leading up to that. And it's such a powerful way to introduce the movie and to set things in motion. And it basically says everything we've been told is not true. You can believe that or disbelieve that, but it does so in a way that's very methodical, very fact-based, documents, video cam footage, different testimonies. And it creates such a rage within you, yet there's such restraint in the filmmaking. And I just thought it was a very powerful film. Everyone should see it.
I did not put it on any of the list, but I did see it, and yes, everything about that was fantastically done.
Yeah, I heard a lot about it, but I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. But that's one that's been come up a couple of times this year in discussion.
I will say I watched it in pieces. I don't like to do that, but I was it's hard to watch together. And that's no fault of the movie. You just feel the sense of injustice, and I just had to take a break a few times.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a few emotionally charged ones that I've seen so far this year too. So I get that. Real quick, my number 9, maybe it's a film that also came out very early in the year. I'm not sure how many of you guys remember it, but it's a film called Plane. For me, for a good portion of this year, it was my number 1 movie until the movies actually started getting better. But for me, this is just a straightforward throwback action film, and I was just kind of surprised with how well done everything was. You have Gerard Butler here, you have Michael Coulter in the film. Essentially, the whole premise is that the plane has to crash land on an island, which is pretty much taken over by revolutionaries and mercenaries, and they have to fix the plane. They have to find a way to get out. And I just love that everything about it was such a classic throwback style to movies that Hollywood just don't make anymore. I mean, it's everything from the tropes of explosions, gunfights, strong protagonists. And they said if you're looking for just a movie to enjoy and not have to worry about all the extra BS that Hollywood gives you, I mean, you can't ask for a better pick than this movie right here. And even after I was watching the film, I was trying to think of any kind of flaws to it. It's like there wasn't really anything that I could pick out that I would say, oh, this film was bad, or they could have done this better. It was just a really, really well done film, and it's probably one of my most solid picks on the entire list here. That's from mine. Number 9 is Plane. Not sure how many other people saw it here, but yeah, I'll definitely give a recommendation to that. Is it Paulie? I just stepped out here. I was going to talk to Paulie here.
I'm here. Sorry.
There we go. So I know Paulie, we had just talked.
This is the joys of YouTubing. My office is shared with the laundry room, so I'm like, babe, you can't run it right now.
Did you just hear a rattling in the background?
Yeah, she's looking at me. I'm like.
Yep. Yeah. But I did ask you because we talked about right before we went on here. I'm not sure how many movies you got to put together for a list for top 5 or top 10. So how many did you have for your list? Just want to clarify.
In my article that I released, I have 10 that I did. Right. Honorable mentions and disappointment. So whatever you need from me.
Well, let's go ahead, and since you're catching up here, just go ahead with your number 10 and your number 9 just to catch us up.
Okay, number 10 is Anatomy of a Fall, and number 9 is Sound of Freedom.
Nice.
Ooh,
some of these films, the deeper we'll definitely go into in more detail here because I definitely want to touch up on some of the ones you guys have mentioned here.
Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall pushed the Air out of my top 10, and so Air is definitely in my honorable mentions, but Anatomy Falls just anyone see that here on the chat on the panel?
I don't think I saw Anatomy Falls.
I want to after kind of hearing about it from other reviewers. It's made their top 10. I actually really want to see it because apparently it's a courtroom drama about this wife who her husband dies, he falls, and it's all this question of did she do it, did she not do it, and kind of being under the microscope of that at a trial and stuff. So I was like, that sounds really interesting, so I will definitely check it out.
I might have the screener for it, I'm not sure.
Is so well done, and Sandra Hüller, who is the lead actress, give her everything now. German actress, she acts in English and in French in this, which language plays a character in this courtroom drama because she's not allowed to. She's allowed certain times, like, hey, only French. Like that among many things. It's a very different type of courtroom thriller, whodunit, and yeah. So that's my number 10.
Polly, I know that she's considered kind of a dark horse for a nomination, so she's got a legitimate shot. She's got a legitimate shot.
Yeah, and she's also in Zone of Interest, which I haven't seen yet, but Robert Meyer Burnett, that's in his top 10. Zone of
That's
Interest, just the premise sounds horrifying.
Yeah, that's on
the
my.
premise is better than the movie, I thought, but
Oh, you
it's-
saw it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's on my outstanding list for 2023's Zone of Interest by Jonathan Glazer, and like
Cool.
The Color Purple and a few others. But yeah, I definitely want to see that one as well.
And I'm sorry, I've never met Christian or Sarah or Mephisto. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to stream with y'all.
Yeah. I do need to go, but Paulie mentioned Sound of no. I'm leading up to you. Paulie mentioned Sound of Freedom. It was so difficult for me to get it because it wasn't shown here, so I had to finagle a few things. A powerful movie about a very, very disturbing fact of life, sadly, that we have to deal with. And to me, the shocking thing about this movie, first of all, it's a well-made, constructed movie to telling you a story about a man dealing with horrible stuff. And it's heartbreaking because of the subject matter is heartbreaking. And to me, what I found as an outsider looking in, because I'm not as an American, is looking towards what happened with the whole bullshit. I'm sorry, of what was going on around this movie and why people didn't want to didn't want you to see this movie because of
People were trying to
politics
bury
or
it.
whatever.
Yep.
And from the outside looking in, to me, it seems a bit off. I understand that the subject matter is difficult to deal with, but let adults deal with tough subject matter. And I heard Chris Gore talking about this, and I think he saw it with Paulie, and both of you were crying at certain points of the movie, and I was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
I need to see this movie to get it, and I get it, and I get why. I didn't have that. I had the feeling, didn't had the full tears, but maybe I'm just dead inside. But I understood why, and why it was so devastating. At a certain point, I was like, I get it. All right. So
The media's
with that,
framing of that movie is one of the most cartoonish, outrageous things I've seen, and I've seen a lot of crap going on. So that the way that they pummeled it, tried to bury it, tried to diminish it. It just I like those. A good movie. It's not great to me, but the way that it's Christian, it's conservative, it's QAnon. It was unbelievable. Just fraudulent.
all right. I actually need to go because I need to have my beauty sleep. But it's an honorable mention to me because as a movie itself, putting the subject matter aside, well made, well constructed, well acted, but didn't crack my list. Maybe if I would have done a top 10, maybe it would be there at like 8 or 9 or 10. So I bid you farewell, goodbye. Thank you for having me, Jacob, and I'll try and be at a better one soon. All right.
Well, we'll try to catch you when it's not like 3 a.m. on your side of the world. So yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, and
Thanks, man.
we'll
Later,
catch
Mephisto.
you on the flip side.
Nice meeting you, brother.
Yeah, take care.
You too.
All right.
Paulie's got balloons and special effects. I got
telling you,
two
man.
doors behind me. This is I can't
Well,
compete.
Toto, there's two things really quick. I'm an emotional softie, so yeah, it's what as far as Sound of Freedom, Hollywood used to do these films a lot. They were called message movies, and yeah, you could break it down. It wasn't like the like you said, like maybe the most well-made film, but it was like a level up, from a kind of like your Hallmark
Some of the
message
movies
movie.
that are on
I
our
loved it,
worst movies.
Yeah,
and
that's what I thought.
the
It's
other
like-
the other
Sorry, go ahead.
really fast. The other part was that you're absolutely right, Toto. Is that in regards to my channel and in the connections I know, I was talking to other people in Latino Holly. It's like, why aren't you guys talking about this film? Mexican writer director, Mexican producer. It's all in Spanish. It's filmed in Latin America, and all these Latino actors. Why is this not being talked about as an achievement, as one of the most successful foreign Mexican films ever? Oh, I don't know
Did you get any
why.
responses to that question?
Yeah, it's like it was this, right? And then some people are just scared to watch it. It's like, you know what?
Ooh.
It's
grow up.
amazing how
Grow
the
up.
media really like turns up people's fears for certain projects. You can go far back a few years ago with the Joker movie. Remember they were telling people, "Oh, if you go watch this movie, you're going to become this radical mass shooter, and people are going to get hurt." They actually had legitimate police officers at screenings for the movie. All that was due to fear-driven media behind it. So.
Right.
Yeah, they should have had those for the Little Mermaid because there was actually more violence there.
Yeah.
And I mean, they
We're
do
already-
this. They do this on a lesser level with smaller films, things like Eli Roth's Death Wish. I still remember how they treated it, how it was like, this is deeply offensive, and it's like it's a guy reacting to the criminal elements in his neighborhood, and it goes to some disturbing places, but that's why it's an exploitation movie. And Dragged Across Concrete came out 4 years ago, and they called S. Craig Zoller like a neo-Nazi, because again, Mel Gibson's family was being negatively impacted by the criminal elements around him, and it was just like, you should be able to make a story about that without being called a racist.
It's called nuance, and they hate it.
And Sound of Freedom is on my top 10. I went to see it 4th of July weekend. I sat in a crowded theater. There was not a dry eye in the house. That's one of the most powerful theater experiences of the year, just because you could feel the weight in the movie theater. You could feel how heavy that story was. And I'm not somebody that's easily persuaded by quote unquote conservative or religious movies or anything like that. This was not that. This was a well-made, well-produced, well-executed Hollywood movie that they shelved for years, and then it got picked up by somebody else.
Yeah.
And they made a ton of money off of it. So, hats off to them.
It's a faith-based movie because they said the word God twice, I think.
They quoted the Bible once.
Now they mentioned the
I
guy
had it
who
in-
they was based on was like Mormon anyway, so it's like it doesn't even make any sense from that angle.
And by the way, if you get a chance, if you want to do a deep dive, check out Red Pilled America. It's a great podcast. They have been very, very suspicious of the real person behind that film, the main character.
Yeah.
And they've got some receipts on him. Listen, the movie's the movie, it's separate, but it is fascinating that it's fascinating to me that the media didn't follow up on their reporting, and they were so angry at the film. Like that would have been a legitimate path to follow to smite that movie, but they didn't do any homework, and this podcast did.
Good.
Go ahead, Brahma.
Since we've talked about it so much, I had it at number 8, and I mean we've already covered the movie. So what I would say is it's on my best of, but it is not a movie I ever want to really watch again.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's what I thought about it.
It was
too.
it was important to be there this year, but I don't want to see it again.
Yeah. I was like, I hated it actually. Like it was a good movie. Like I pretty much agree with what Rob said about it, but I hated watching it. So
Like the subject matter,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
And what's funny, by the way, the whole like the way the media covered it's so funny because it's the other side that usually this happens with, where Hollywood wants to make a very subversive, or it's going to push buttons, or it's going to upset conservative America. It's celebrated. It's almost celebrated for pushing the envelope or whatever. But if it's as soon as you get creeped out by the fact that like what Pizzagate is that what this is about? This weird like conspiracy during 2016 that the Democrats are involved in child sex trafficking or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't even the media reacting this way is more curious than anything, because as somebody I never looked into it. I thought it was just a silly conspiracy theory, but now the way they act, it's like that gets more people like interested in what you're perpetually trying to hide here. But
I think that
I think they wanted to read
firing
something.
Go ahead, Rick.
No, the media just saw something that they wanted to see, and they didn't want to see the movie itself or talk about the subject matter. It was just their perception of it.
I think that's right, but I think also, I if memory serves, I think there were some conservative or right-leaning or religious people who jumped on the bandwagon early and promoted the film, and I think that was the dog whistle for the
Yeah,
media. They
that's
go,
what I
"Oh,
was gonna
wait, we
say.
can't like this."
That's what I was gonna say. Is that Eduardo Verástegui and Caviezel went on all the whatever. You know, they're trying to get media for their film, right? And but you know, Verástegui in Mexico is notoriously very conservative. Big deal. I don't care. I really don't care. I mean, you can go. We can use our top tens and let's look up the political views of all these producers and stuff. We're gonna find shit we don't like about them. Who cares? Let me see
Well,
your
there,
movie.
there was one media story about the movie where I think they did some crowdfunding effort and they got 6,000 people to give a little bit of money toward either the production or the marketing, whatever. One of that 6,000 member group did something that was a little shady, and it was a huge story like, oh, this producer of the movie was caught with this. And it wasn't even that bad or was misinterpreted, but that's how badly they wanted to trash this movie. They picked one out of 6,000 people and they highlighted what he had done or allegedly had he done to smash the movie. I mean, that's amazing.
And of course,
I
he was
think Paulie hit on
exonerated. By the
something.
way, he was exonerated. By
Yes.
the way,
Yep.
I
Here's
think
the
Paulie
thing,
hit on something like that. There was Verástegui and Caviezel are both known as they're very Catholic. They're they're very conservative. They talk about their faith openly. So maybe they thought, oh, it's some sort of propaganda. I
Yeah.
don't know why. And just also it's on my top 10. So the number 7. So
Orale.
it's,
Oh, same.
Here's the thing, like my conspiratorial
seven?
view.
Yeah.
that's my 7th.
Cool.
My conspiratorial view of this whole thing is that it's really just very, very simple. Here you have a story or a film that's essentially about child sex trafficking around the world, right? It's not just here in the United States. It's mainly focused in South America, but we can look at places like Europe. We can look at places like Africa where it goes on. Like this happens pretty much everywhere. Middle East doesn't really matter. And what it really comes down to is that it's a movie that could wake people up to this is a much bigger problem than us, the media, the ones who are supposed to be reporting this stuff to you, is actually making it seem to be. So they went such a far overcorrection type of way to bury the movie that it ended up driving more people to it. And like if you were trying to keep that just say that cat in the bag or that that hat in the bag, like it didn't work at all. It absolutely didn't work, and it completely backfired on it, and he deserved to.
Huge in Latin America. It did. It
Mhm.
was the numbers were incredible, as it should have been. I mean, and again, it was made for what, less than 15. Verástegui worked his butt off to buy the rights back because the Disney wasn't upholding the deal, because part of the deal was that you're also going to make a documentary.
And by the way, Sound of Freedom outgrossed Indiana Jones this year. You think Disney's kicking themselves a little bit?
Well, Disney's
Yeah, I
taking a
think
whole
for a
lot of
l-
L's this year.
I think for a little while, Sound of Freedom actually was outperforming it that on the weekend, or the same time as Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones, came back, but barely, and that says a lot about both Indiana Jones and Sound of Freedom, and the audience reaction to both.
Yeah,
That
word of mouth.
that this big,
Yeah.
this big
Okay.
film barely edged out a
and
smaller one.
and one more thing too, Jim Caviezel is a born leading man. I mean, he is. I love anything he does. I might not like the films, but I just think he's a great great leading man.
I will say this. So I want to go through some of the films on my list for time constraints here, but so I want to go ahead and go over mine. Number 8 here that I had on my list was a film called No More Bets. Some of you guys probably didn't heard of this film. It's a Chinese film that talks about the dangers of not only human trafficking, but human trafficking as it relates to offshore gambling accounts as well. So the whole story here is that you had a kid who goes to this country thinking he's going to get a good high paying job. Turns out he gets pretty much kidnapped and forced to wait for this scam farm that they got going on. It just basically goes to show you just how very, very scandalous and very, very shady these offset betting accounts are, where you're talking about online poker, sports books, and stuff like that. When you're talking about Korea, Malaysia, Taiwan, all these places, it's very, very dark, but it's a very well done film. It's a very good story. So like I said, it may not be as appealing to some people, but if you haven't checked out that one, I would definitely recommend seeing that film. My number 7 here, which we'll talk about, I'm pretty sure somebody might bring up here too, is Godzilla -1. I think that was probably the best Godzilla film that we've seen in several decades, and it came from Japan, did not come from here in the United States of America, which is very embarrassing on a number of levels. But it took the one complaint people had about the current crop of Godzilla films here in the US and actually turned it into a positive. It made you care about the human characters. Like everyone's like, oh, I don't care about the human characters, I just want to see Godzilla destroy stuff. No, this one makes you care about the human characters, and it's actually a brilliant part to the story. So Godzilla -1 is number 7 for me. Number 6, Rob mentioned it, Iron Claw. Like I said, great movie. Somehow the movie doesn't even go into enough depth to tell you just how depressing and sad the life story of the Von Erichs actually is. Like there was one kid who also committed suicide within that family, wasn't in the movie, but it was like, hey, look, it was just a death too much. Like we had added it, like we would just emotionally have broken everyone in our audience. I get that. Iron Claw, definitely great number 6. My only knock is they could have found somebody else to play Ric Flair. I mean, come on, like you could do better than that.
Yeah.
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 Everyone agrees on that.
Yeah. Number 5, Sound of Freedom. We pretty much run through that one. Yeah, definitely a top 5 movie. Number 4 is a movie called Switch, a South Korean film. This is a family comedy film, and it's actually one of the best family comedies I've seen in a while. It's basically like Freaky Friday and Christmas Carol combined into one. And it basically tells a story about how a guy who is a rich, famous actor who doesn't have any wife, doesn't have kids, thinks he has it all. He switches places with his best friend who does have a wife and kid. Now he has to take care of his family. He comes to realize that actually family matters more than all the stuff that goes on with fame and Hollywood and money and women. And you can never tell a story like that in Hollywood because no one in Hollywood is ever going to be like, hey, are we the baddies here? Yeah, maybe you guys are. But I definitely enjoyed that movie a lot. That's a movie called Switch. Number 3 on my list is a film called The Child. I'm pretty sure that you guys have heard me talk about this on quite a few podcasts. It's a film about a boxer who goes to South Korea to find his birth father. Turns out his birth father wants him dead, and he's in a war between a giant corporation and a charismatic hitman who's also trying to kill him too, but he claims that he's his friend, so he really doesn't know who to trust. And just as the story unfolds, it goes one crazy twist after another. It has all the charismatic elements to a John Wick movie. It's brutal, it's fun, very, very entertaining. It's one of the best movies you're going to see this year. It came out earlier this summer. It's called The Child. Definitely check that one out when you guys get an opportunity. 2 was actually a film that I think Mephisto mentioned right before he left here. Tetris. I actually have in my number 2 spot this year. That's how much I really, really enjoyed that film. Like I said, this is an Apple TV movie. Taron Egerton, I believe his name. I'm butchering it. Whatever. Very, very solid story. Very, very solid premise here. Sofia Lebedeva, who I believe is her name, she's Russian as well. She was actually very, very good in this film too, and I thought that was kind of a breakout performance for her. Just great acting from the film start to finish, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the type of movies that we need to be making, not even just like in the big realm of Hollywood, but just as far as like these streaming movies. Like they want you guys to pay like 15 to 20 bucks a month for these crappy movies. Actually produce some content that actually worthwhile, and this is probably one of the best streaming movies that I've seen. Tetris, if you guys haven't seen that on Apple TV, definitely go check that out. It's a great, great film. And then my number 1 film, I know we're going to get into it a little bit more here, is Oppenheimer. I just thought that Oppenheimer by far was the best acted movie in 2023, the best directed movie in 2023. You took a guy who played Han Solo a few years, who got publicly buried by the media by saying that he couldn't act, that he needed acting lessons while they were shooting the movie, and he absolutely stole the show in this film. And not only was he great, Emily Blunt was great, Robert Downey Jr. was great. Like this, to me, this is probably Nolan's best movie to date. I say that being a big fan of Dunkirk. Some of you guys may like the Batman movie or not, but I think this is the best job as a director that he's done, and this is my runaway number 1 movie of the year. So I'll go ahead and swing the bars over to you, Rob, so you can go ahead and give everyone your top 10 list.
Can I just say real quick? Anyone who says that Alden Ehrenreich can't act just because of Solo does not know what they're talking about. Okay, that's crazy.
I heard he was in another good film called Fair Play this year.
Yeah, the movie is garbage, especially
He's
the
a
second
great
half.
actor.
But yeah, he's very good in it.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just girl boss.
We did our top 10s
bullshit.
yesterday with Robert Meyer Burnett, and that was in his list. So I was like, oh, I want to check it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
was-
it's definitely worth checking out. It's slick, kind of updating New York, like Wall Street kind of vibe. But yeah,
I'll check
kind
it
of
out.
like
Yeah.
power play kind of thing. Yeah, so I'll start with number 8. Was Poor Things. Poor Things was one of the funniest movies I saw this year. I don't expect it to be on anybody's list here. But I just thought it was absurd. It was a sort of sci-fi fantasy that went to some irreverent places. Some of Emma Stone's dialogue is just drop dead funny, because she's unaware. She's learning about herself and the world, and she's stupid, but just stupid enough. And I do feel like she's almost she's almost like a Mary Sue character where she can almost do no wrong. But it is almost always framed in a really funny and entertaining way. So I really enjoyed it. It's supposed to be perverse. It's supposed to be subversive. The hand wringing that people on certain shows did for months about her having the brain of a baby, I just thought were completely overblown because the movie itself is ridiculous. It's not meant to be taken seriously. And I thought Emma Stone gave just one of the best female performances of the year. This year, surprisingly, it's the female performances that probably will be best remembered. And Margot Robbie is not part of that. So moving on, Sound of Freedom, we mostly talked about it. I found it very moving. It was a great theater watch. I might watch it again, but I definitely understand the sentiment of not necessarily wanting to. And I thought Jim Caviezel did a great job in his performance and his role. Number 6 is another one I don't expect to be on anyone's list. Beau is Afraid. This is a 3-hour sort of, I don't know what to call it, like Jewish guilt horror movie, which definitely doesn't sound like a pleasant time. But I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so blackly comic. I just enjoyed Joaquin Phoenix just being terrified for 3 hours. And it's a lot of it has to do with shame and guilt and not being there for his Jewish mother who keeps calling to just berate him constantly. So I had a really good time. There were like 3 people in the theater in April when I went to see this. So yeah, it is what it is. Number 5 is Maestro. So this, I didn't expect Maestro to be so divisive. Bradley Cooper basically begging for an Oscar, I guess, but I was deeply moved by him and Carey Mulligan's relationship. I loved, seeing them fall in love and deal with his infidelity issues, and kind of the movie's about what it is to be an artist and how complicated that process is. And, to a lot of people, it's just Cooper and makeup, smoking cigarettes. And I kind of love that stuff. I love maybe there are certain types of pretension that I love, and maybe Maestro is part of that, but where I hate Robert Eggers, so I don't know, but I really liked it. I think Mulligan gave one of the best female performances of the year. I thought she was spectacular. I thought Cooper was good. Whether I don't necessarily think he's going to get a nomination for his role, but I thought he was fine. I think people want to hate him a little too much. But yeah, I did. I enjoyed Maestro. Number 4 is Master Gardener. It's another movie. Paul Schrader loves doing these God's Lonely Man movie where you have a sort of reformed criminal who's trying to take on a new life, and he thinks he can hide, from his past. And it's just kind of a really interesting take on someone who was a terrorist, a neo-Nazi, trying to reform their life. And the way Paul Schrader deals with the subject is not heavy-handed. It's not, what you'd see on the headlines. It deals with it in a very human way. So I always really appreciate that. The Holdovers, it comes in at number 3. I think Paul Giamatti might steal an Oscar for Best Actor this year. This was a great movie. I've kind of been arguing with people that it's not great. But the more that I think about it, the more I think I might be wrong. So
See it again.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna
I
rewatch
saw
it
it
now. That it's
twice.
on
Yeah.
Peacock.
For you to crack the saying might is a step forward for you, Rob.
Yeah, well, I get kind of what people are moved by, and the ending is great. I wish we got more out of Paul Giamatti. I wish we got more from his character, but he kind of steps to the side where Dominic Sessa's character is more the lead, in my opinion, even though that's not how the awards are going to break down. But I did really like it. I definitely think it's worth checking out. And it's definitely one of the best movies of the year. Number 2, this is very hard for me. The top 2 movies of the year. Number 2 is Oppenheimer. I think it's as close to a perfect movie as we've seen in a long time, probably since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a it's a perfect execution of filmmaking, from acting, directing, editing, the script. Christopher Nolan's his Achilles heel is the script, and it's a really good script. I agree with Jacob. This is probably his best film that he's made. I just, from start to finish, I think it's as close to a perfect movie as possible. And the only reason at number one that I have Killers of the Flower Moon ahead of it is I just think it's just by an inch, just by a little bit, it's that much of a greater film. It takes the point of view of the villains, of the criminals, of this, series of murders, of this conspiracy. And for 3.5 hours, it keeps us, paying attention and attuned to what's going on with multiple characters. Lily Gladstone probably gives the performance of the year as Molly Burkhart. She's tremendous. I think DiCaprio and De Niro could easily get nominated, could easily miss out. It's just that kind of year. I will certainly not be sorry if Martin Scorsese walks away with a best director and best picture. Probably not. I just think it's Oppenheimer's year. But for me, Killers of the Flower Moon comes in at number one, just ahead of Oppenheimer.
There we go. Rick, I guess we can go there with your list real quick.
All right. Starting at number 8, this might be a surprise to people. John Wick Chapter 4. And I come at this with someone who has never seen any of the John Wick movies prior to Jacob telling me that I had to review it. I was really impressed with I was really impressed with the visuals. It just has beautiful looking death scenes, and I know that sounds strange. And the story moved, I thought, relatively well. I wasn't completely lost. I understood what was going on, and it's just relentless. For me, it was just amazing to look at visually, and I really was impressed. Yes, I thought it was a little long, and that's an issue I had with a lot of the movies here on my 10 list. They were just maybe a little long. But as someone who had no real knowledge of the John Wick franchise, apart from what I heard, I was really impressed. Number 7, one we've talked about and I've mentioned, Sound of Freedom. I am going to submit one of the supporting actors for my group for best supporting actor. I thought his speech about how he realized that he basically had hired this underage girl, it was like a sex slave thing, and the guilt that he had, and that's why he does rescue them. I thought that was a very moving performance. I also judge a film in part by the audience reaction, and like with a lot of people here, when they went to the theaters, I saw a lot of people openly sob and wiping tears out of their eyes. I didn't, because I generally don't cry at movies. I don't get that emotional, but I was impressed, and I saw the people whipping out their phones to get that that QR code to forward tickets to others. At number 6, it's Maestro. I was also impressed, and Rob and I have discussed this. Yes, you could make an artistic film that's also a naked, give me an Oscar movie, which is what Maestro is for Bradley Cooper. I think people are hating on Cooper because this is a close to Eddie Redmayne in Theory of Everything. Like, this is a showy performance. He's desperate. He's got the makeup, and he's 0 for 9. He's lost 9 times, not just for acting, but for producing and I think writing. So it's almost like an air of desperation for him to get an Oscar at long last. But we'll see how it goes. I expect he might get. I think he will get nominated. I don't know if he'll win. There's still a lot of good performances out there. But again, as I joked, it's hard to build a overdue narrative for someone who is 48 years old. For number 5, probably a movie that no one will have on their list, A Haunting in Venice. I've liked the Poirot films from Kenneth Branagh. I don't know why he's hated so much, even though I think David Suchet is the definitive Poirot. But this was, for me, a very atmospheric, well-made film. Not quite a bottle film, because you do get outside scenes, but I think everyone was pretty good in this. It gave you that kind of spooky feeling, like a ghost story, and that's what I think what it was aiming for. And I actually did not mind the multicultural casting. It worked for me. It wasn't terrible. He brought back 2 of the people from Belfast, Jamie Dornan, who can't act, and Jude Hill, who can act. And I was really impressed. I might submit Jude Hill for supporting actor as well in his small role as a child. Number 4, another movie that might surprise people I have so high, Godzilla -1. I like the fact that it did focus on the characters and Godzilla was used sparingly. You still get the monster and you get really impressive scenes or what. But I don't think it was 15 million. I think what was it? The director said it was actually less
Yeah, it was actually
than 15
less.
million. Less. Those visual effects work so well and much better than what we saw in recent DC and Marvel films. They actually knew how to use the effects correctly, which is to build the story. It wasn't just to show off. I really liked it. Maybe it was a little long, but I would have preferred the sacrifice of the character at the end, but for me it worked, and I kind of see why the ending and I mean the movie ended the way it did. Number 3, Oppenheimer, and my top 3. It was a really tough decision to see which ones would go where. Oppenheimer. Again, I was impressed by the visuals. It's an interesting story of this man and the guild. I loved that little moment where Gary Oldman's Truman is like, "Here, have a handkerchief. Stop crying, you pathetic wimp." Basically, because he had a different vision. But in terms of acting, Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. and Emily Blunt and even Alden Ehrenreich, who I personally have not been the biggest fan of, but he kind of showed me, yes, you can do better. And I think it was more he was miscast as Solo than anything else. So I was really impressed with the movie, and it just worked well for me. Number 2, for the longest time it was number 1, but it was Killers of the Flower Moon at number 2. Again, brilliantly acted. Lily Gladstone for me should be the front runner, and she's just, even though people say, "Oh, she wasn't in the movie long enough," no, she knew what she was doing. It worked well for me. That moment when she has that kind of realization of her sister's death, that got to me. And DiCaprio was great. De Niro was great. Maybe again, movie was a little long, and I know there was an issue with people forcing an intermission. I would have said, yeah, maybe you should have put an intermission. And number 1, a movie that I literally saw just a couple of hours ago, The Holdovers. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so well directed, so well acted. Um, was it Divine Joy Randolph? I think is probably going to win. I'm a little upset that Dominic Sessa is not getting as much talk for supporting actor as he should. I thought he did such a good job in this with this character, much better than Ryan Gosling. I'm shocked to say that, but no, I preferred that performance over the himbo. And Giamatti was absolutely wonderful. I would probably vote for him if I had a chance. I would vote for him for best actor. It was I hate to say the cliche. I laughed, I cried. I did. I laughed, I cried. One moment you could be laughing at just how out of touch Giamatti's character was, and the next moment you see Randolph's pain at the loss of her son. So it all worked so well for me. And again, maybe a little long, but I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting to be as impressed as I was. So my number 1 choice for this year, The Holders.
All right then, Brahma. Let's go with your list.
Yeah, I'll just kind of burn through these because yeah, I'm not a critic or a movie reviewer really. I just liked it or didn't. So at number 7 I had Sisu. Number 6 is where I put Oppenheimer. Number 5 I don't think has been mentioned yet. Gran Turismo. I thought it was a fantastic movie about a game that wasn't really a video game movie. Let's see. Number 4 I had Equalizer 3. Number 3, Godzilla -1. Number 2 was Nefarious for me, and number 1 was Tetris. Tetris really grabbed number 1 at the beginning of the year and never gave it up for me.
I'm glad that Tetris is getting some love here because no, it's definitely a very underrated movie that, like I said, if it would have went completely under the radar had you not seen it because, like I said, it was not a theatrical release movie. It came out on a streaming service, and if you missed it, you missed out on a great film there.
You know, my takeaway from Tetris was when I saw it was, oh, hey, so Russia's the bad guy.
Yeah, but there's also video games too.
Yeah, true.
Christian, let's go with you with your rest of your best list.
Yeah, I won't mention the two we've already discussed, and then they're in no particular order. I'm gonna give the top slot to one particular movie though. One is Megan, which I thought it came out in 2022, but I double checked. It's early January. Just an enjoyable genre movie. It was horror based, but it had some comic beats to it, and it has a great ending. I mean, just from a grindhouse point of view. And I checked who directed it. It's the same director who made Housebound, which is a movie I've been kind of promoting for the last 6-7 years. That's a New Zealand horror comedy, which is so good and so much fun. Also Air, and I think the one thing we haven't mentioned here is about Air is it's slick, it's good. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's very good. But it's a testament to capitalism. It's a testament to the American dream from one of Hollywood's most prominent liberals. Ben Affleck was the director and co-star. So I just thought that was interesting that they'd make a story and frame it in that fashion. This one. Again, a lot of my choices are genre based, but it's called Good Boy. It's a Norwegian import. It's about a woman who starts to date a man. He's handsome, he's single, he's wealthy, and he lives with a fellow who dresses up like a dog 24/7. And she says, you know what? I'm going to look past that. And that's a big mistake. To me, it had the single best reveal of any movie I've seen this year. And I just, from start to finish, it had me going. Also, Godzilla -1 for all the reasons we've mentioned. I mean, I think they took 69 years to make a really good Godzilla movie. There you go. And all I had to do is make characters you cared about, interesting dialogue, wonderful redemptive arcs. But let's not sleep on the fact that the Godzilla scenes are excellent. I mean, the direction, the pacing, the effects, everything top notch. And then my best film is The Holdovers. I mean, it's so good. And it's funny, someone mentioned how it's weird when you see a movie and then you think about it, it either rises in your estimation or it falls. And even though I didn't think it was great, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop wanting to see it again. And it feels like everything an Oscar movie should be. So I don't know if it's going to win Best Picture. And I just want to I felt like Oppenheimer was a perfect film. I mean, in every way, perfect. But it didn't emotionally grab me. And I feel like Christopher Nolan's films often are clinical and there's a little coolness to them.
Kubrick.
And maybe it's just personal, but I never get emotionally invested in them. I just think, my God, they're just exquisitely made in every way. And I think this is his most exquisitely made movie. I didn't feel for it. So that's anyway, over now.
No, that's a good suggestion. I mean,
right before we wrap up. Oh, go ahead.
No, I've heard a lot of people describe Christopher Nolan as kind of cold or cool. And in that way, I think he resembles Stanley Kubrick a little bit. I mean, I don't know that Kubrick was ever as interested in kind of like blockbuster, the mass audience necessarily, but I think they share those traits. Absolutely.
Yeah. Spartacus was probably the last Kubrick movie that was like geared more general audiences.
Well, it definitely wasn't Eyes Wide Shut. Right before we go to Paul here to wrap up our best list, Sarah, I'll let you go on to tell everyone about the movies that you actually liked this year. So go ahead.
Sweet. All right. I really kind of enjoyed this year just because I took a break from being like a person that pursues movies, I guess. I just I was off Twitter for like half the year probably. So I didn't have any information about what other people were watching. Like a lot of these movies you guys are mentioning, I'm like, oh, I haven't even heard of that, because I'm just so off the grid right now. But so the ones I have, I'll mention I'll do 3. So number 3 is The Portable Door. I think technically it was released in 2022, but it was released in 2023 in America because it was a Australian produced movie. So it's like a high fantasy.
It's one of those borderline ones, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Australian produced, but set in Britain, and it's like fantasy where there's like this company and there's a door and it moves around, and if you have a towel and you say a certain thing and then drop the towel, then the door appears and you can go through it to anywhere you want. And I just love that kind of fantasy. So it was like a family movie, really cute, and it had like the British charm, but also like that Australian like twist of like quirkiness, which I really enjoyed. So that's 3. Number 2, Sharper on Apple TV. Did any of y'all see that? No?
I remember it came out earlier this year, but I did not get a chance to circle back to it. But I know it was one you talked about a lot this year.
Did I? Okay. It came out, earlier this year. And it's like a noir. I can't really remember what the premise was now, but it was...
It was so long ago.
I mean, the point of a noir is the feel of it, and it definitely hit the right feel of noir. And there was 3 different timelines and 3 different like viewpoints going through it, and then it all came to the end, and where everything came together. And it didn't come together quite as good as it should have, or maybe could have, but the ride was really fun and very noir. So I'm a big fan of noir, so I just really enjoyed watching it. And I made my dad watch it with me like the next day, because I was just like, you have to watch this noir movie. It's so fun. And so it was good. Anything else about that? No, I guess not. And then my number 1 is Godzilla -1. It's the first movie that I've given 5 stars in like 3 years. So I feel like maybe movies are back. Maybe, I don't know. It's funny though, because I might have not, like, I almost didn't even ever see it or even hear of it. I was in a restaurant watching the trailer for the new American Godzilla Kong movie or whatever that's coming out soon. And I was like, are you serious? They're making another one of those? And my brother was like, there's another Godzilla movie that's in theaters right now, and it's Japanese. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. Let's go see it. And then I had no idea that it was making such big waves with everyone else. So I'm really glad that it was good. I thought it was great. I went in knowing absolutely nothing about it. I love the main character. I loved that Godzilla, it almost looked like they were using like practical effects for the Godzilla, I guess. Maybe a mix or something, because I could see that there was CGI like in the water sometimes, but like the actual monster looked so good, and he was so scary. He was actually scary. Like, I've never been scared by a Godzilla movie before, but when he was chasing down the boat, I was like, holy crap.
And it was done for less than $15 million, which is
Yeah,
still amazing.
it's so impressive. And I loved all the characters. It felt like an anime, kind of. Like, well, all the characters are so unique, and it hits all full range of emotions and stuff. I thought it was...
For me, it's like, if we can admit we just made a Godzilla look that good for less than $15 million, like, that's... So we're money laundering here in Hollywood, right? There's no other explanation for
Yeah.
Between that movie and The Creator, which I had some issues with, but that I think was 85 million, and it looks amazing. You're absolutely right. There's something severely broken in Hollywood where they need 300 million to make movies that look almost as good as Godzilla and the Creator. I just, something's amiss.
All right. Well, Paul, you're the last one on our list, so go ahead and give us the rest of your best movies of the year.
Gajira. The best movie of the year is from last year. It's called Babylon. Hey, boom. I had to get on motto. Cabron.
No, Polly. Rob and I are joining forces. We don't often do, but when it comes to Hollywood Babylon, we do.
I know. I was
The book by Kenneth Anger.
Okay, so here's my 10. It's Anatomy of Fall, Sound of Freedom. Number 8, When Evil Lurks. This movie from Argentina was so haunting that it really haunted me for several days. In every movie I've seen at least twice, if not 3 times, on my list. Number 7, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I was in for this ride, the spectacle. I just absolutely loved it, and Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara. I just love seeing that on the big screen 3 times. Number 6, The Boy and the Heron. Among its many themes, I wrote that the whole idea of past memories of loved ones that we've lost, and over time, how those fade away from us, really, really hooked me. Really hooked me. An incredible story. Yeah. The Holdovers, number 5. I mean, what everyone else is here has said. Giamatti's finest performance in years. I love this, stubborn professor, kind of just, so principled, and yet, yet he's got his isms. What a great character! What a great character! And it wasn't just him, right? Because you're bouncing off the other characters as well. Number 4, American Fiction. This is a great commentary on Hollywood's fascination with the Black experience, and kind of throwing it back in their faces with the character that Jeffrey Wright plays, where he writes a novel just to spite them. And what happens? They buy the movie rights. It becomes mayhem, but it's rooted in a deep tragedy. This story, as far as what he's dealing with his mother. So, fantastic film. Number 3, Gojira. What everyone else has said here, plus the hopelessness of a country of people in post-war Japan, that there's so much great human story behind this. And I think that whole thing, the people getting together and trying to figure out a way to fight Godzilla, was wonderful. Number 2, Oppenheimer. I think the word is surgical, right? As far as it being, sometimes cold, as far as Nolan. But I actually thought the vendetta between Robert Downey Jr. and Killian's the characters, that was incredibly personal. I love that. I think that's why it had, I wanted to see it again for that. So yeah, number 2 and number 1, Finest Kind. I've seen it twice. I can't get enough of this film. Sometimes a movie finds me that what I need to see and hear at the right time. And this movie is everything from men's relationships with each other as brothers, as a crew of commercial fishermen trying to teach this new kid something. I thought, that was just, I was just riveted. This is, I believe, was this Brian Heglin? He wrote and directed it. He won an Oscar for LA Confidential.
Yeah, Brian Heglin. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's had this script for actually decades, and it's gone through different casting. At one time, Heath Ledger was supposed to be it. Stacked cast. I see why Tommy Lee and why Tim Daly took these roles. Very small father roles as far as screen time, but wow, what they do for their sons in this film. And the lead character's not broken. He's a good dude. He just wants to be with his brother. And then Jenna Ortega's character, she's just trying to break out of the kind of toxic relationship she has with her mom and their setting. And what I appreciate, like I said, with all the stuff that revolves around all the different dynamics of male relationships, which was just right on point, is Jenna's character with Toby Wallace's character. There are newfound romance in it, and she asks for his advice. When's the last time you saw a story in Hollywood where, coming out of Hollywood, the female asks a man for advice, and he just says, "Be your own hero." There was a lot of those great takeaway dialogue from Heglin's script. That's my number 1.
All right. So, like I said, if you heard it here from this group of people, there are some good movies, stuff for Rick, of course. And of course, there's some good movies here to be had on this list. So definitely check out a lot of these films if you guys are looking for stuff. Because look, I know that as far as like the big box office movies goes, there may not have been as much as we would have liked this year, but there were some good movies out there if you found them. And we did a lot of digging. I had to sit through 107 movies to find the good ones that I found this year. So, like I said, if you have some time, check out the ones that we missed. But we're going to swing this one over here now. Now that we've talked about all the good, now this is the part of the show we can talk about all the bad, all of the absolute dog crap movies that we had to sit through. And there was a lot of them. Apparently, every terrible filmmaker thinks that their movie has to be 2.5 to 3 hours long now, because there was a lot of movies that were really pushing my limits of how long I want to sit in the movie theater. Christian, I know we might be losing you here in a little bit, so I want to go ahead and get this started with you. What is your top 10 worst movies list?
Yeah,
worst films of the year?
I've only got 5, and I'll start with 65. Adam Driver, great actor. You throw Adam Driver into a movie and have dinosaur creatures there, I'm in. And then I watch this movie and I'm out. So it was terrible.
Yep.
Also, Paint. I don't know who pissed off. Like, why would you target Bob Ross, the late painter, the guy with the happy trees? They made an entire movie in which Bob Ross, like character, is a jerk, and the motivation is bizarre. I love Owen Wilson. I think he can do almost no wrong. He's miscast here.
Except for being this movie.
It's not funny. It's woke at times. It gets worse as it goes along. It tries to introduce a redemptive arc, and you don't buy it for a minute. It's just terrible. So there's that. To me, Saltburn is a disaster. It had such potential. It's beautiful to look at. It has a really good cast. I like Barry Keoghan. I think he's interesting as heck. But it doesn't really hold together as a psychological portrait to me. I didn't understand the relationships, the characters, the motivations. And then there's some shocking sex scenes. Who cares? At that point, it feels like such desperation. Just didn't hold together. And I just thought the subject is so fascinating. And, you can do a I Hate the Rich movie because they did it last year with The Menu, which was far better. So I just thought this is just a dud. And also, you people, I miss the old funny Jonah Hill because he I don't know what's going on with him, but he may have co-written this movie. It's a terrible film. It's about an interracial relationship. There's lots of good material there. You've got Eddie Murphy and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, terrific actors, a lot of cringeworthy moments. Nothing feels real. Someone from RogerEbert.com basically said what I keep quoting about this movie: people don't talk like this. People don't act like this. It's just a dud. And there are a few moments where Eddie Murphy just is so talented. He can make us laugh. He can make us smile, but it couldn't rescue this movie. And then I think the most uncomfortable sit for me this year was The Blackening. I love horror comedies. You throw in a little bit of social satire. Coming from the left, I don't care. Go for it. Get Out was just a wonderful movie. This is a horrendous film. It's almost laugh-free. It's desperate. And the whole concept of, whoa, don't you hate it when the black person dies first in the movie? It's horse manure. Actually, there was a website, it might have been Collider. They studied 50 different horror movies and said, who died first? Was it a black person that died first? And like almost all of them, that was not the case. I've been watching horror movies for years. Horror movies didn't even have enough diversity to have a black person in the film. So that's another issue we could talk about.
We took a meme from like 1991 and made it into a movie 30 years later.
And listen, that was more of a marketing gimmick, so I could forgive that as well. But the finished product was just a dud. I took my kid to see it. He loves horror. He loves comedies. He loves bad movies. We watched some bad movies together. This one just was a complete dud. Hated The Blackening. Hated. And the fact that my fellow critics loved it, it mystifies me.
Well, in The Blackening's defense, and it barely missed my 10 worst. The only time I laughed was when one of the characters said that he voted for Trump twice, because the idea of a black man voting for Trump twice is just laughable. I mean, really, there's no such thing. There's no such person as a black man who
we
would
wouldn't
vote for
know
Trump.
anyone like that.
Yeah, we would not know anyone like that at all.
Rick, I agree, but I think that was a concept they could have worked with and expanded upon. It was just like a one quick done joke.
Yeah, look,
I hate that movie.
I mean, for The Blackening,
I got a few thoughts about that film.
Yeah, it was
The only-
for me. Never decided whether it wanted to be a horror or a comedy or a spoof of a horror film. It did not decide what it wanted, so it went nowhere.
So it chose neither.
Well, the reason it didn't make my list is because I didn't watch it. So it probably would have made my list.
Literally the only reason why I didn't make the list.
That's all
Same
right
here.
Brahma, what do you got for the worst films that you saw in 2023?
Did Christian go through all of them?
Yeah, I just had 5.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, like I said, if I heard that they were horrible, I didn't see them. So there's probably a few on here that would have had some of those that you just named replacing them. But yeah, number 10, I had Expendables 4. It's done. Sly being, whatever they did there was dumb. And as much as I like Jason Statham and things, I mean, I'm getting tired of the same shtick. I mean, I could have
agree.
easily replaced Expendables 4 with Meg 2, because Meg 2, at least in Meg 1, he played a character. In Meg 2, he played Jason Statham. So it was just an action movie
Wait, so
again.
you're telling me that the future of this franchise with Megan Fox as the new lead is not going to entice you to go back to watch another one?
Yeah, don't think so.
Ah.
No, that they're so done. Number 9, Alice Darling. It was an Anna Kendrick movie. I got stuck watching it on a plane, and it was just dull. It was boring. Nothing happens in it. They tried to be artsy with it and make it all angsty, and nothing good.
What happened to
I'm
her
not gonna-
bored
career,
me
by
to
the way?
death.
I was going to
What's
say,
that?
I didn't even know she was still alive till you just mentioned her name. So-
Yeah. And I like her in most things. She's quirky and good looking in a weird kind of way. Number 8 was 65. Number 7, this may piss some people off, John Wick 4. I hated it.
Ooh.
And I'm a John Wick fan. I'm a
can't
John Wick
disagree
fan. I
with you.
like 1 and 3. I'm not a big fan of 2. And 4, I felt was way too long. Besides the stair scene, you can cut out the first hour and a half of the movie, because you already saw it in John Wick 3, and you would have a reasonable length movie. And nothing is actually accomplished in the movie. He doesn't take down the table. He hasn't done anything that he set out to do after
He
the
dies.
first movie. Yeah.
He
To
died, maybe,
later
maybe
be
not.
resurrected. Yeah. Number 6, I had Napoleon. Just didn't care for it at all. Thought it was a very dull biopic, and really just kind of destroyed Napoleon's character in every way they could. They just cucked him every chance they got. So,
Quite literally.
yeah. Number 5 was Barbie. I didn't even want to see it, but I've got daughters.
But I've got daughters. Yep. There
Yeah.
it is.
4
was
was
waiting for someone to
Quantumania.
mention Barbie.
Yeah.
Just
It's
wait.
like a turning
just
point in
now getting
cinema.
through the
I
bad
can't
stuff.
believe this.
Yeah, the best $1 billion horrible movie, I guess. Number 4 was Quantumania. Number 3 was The Flash. Number 2 was The Marvels. And number 1, Indiana Jones, as it destroyed one of the greatest characters ever.
Yep.
That was a fun
Rob's
list.
just glad it's dead.
What's that?
I said Rob's just glad it's dead.
No,
it
the
was
Indiana
the
Jones
movie
movie
before this.
is terrible. I mean, the Indiana Jones
There are
movie
only
is-
3.
should be
But you
thrown
get
into
you
a
can't
fire.
get excited now that you're going to have that new female, as the new Indiana Jones. How could you guys? How could you? The future's
Fleabag
Fleabag.
Jones, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's gonna put butts in seats. Sarah, I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple movies that you hated this year. So
I think I have 4. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay, here we go. 4 is 65. I ditto what Christian said. I was so excited for it. I was like, this is going to be the best movie ever.
let me
It
just
was
pause you
so
just here real
disappointing.
quick, because I feel like there's a lot of hate for 64. Let me defend 64 here.
Six,
It's
I actually
65.
love the movie.
65.
65.
65, excuse me. Yes,
64 is the sequel.
That's a prequel.
This is the prequel. Look, I actually like the movie, but here's what I think the issue is. People saw the trailer for the movie and thought it was going to be nothing but like a big dinosaur film. And then when you watch the movie, it's more of a father-daughter-ish type survival movie.
No,
And
I would have loved that.
Yeah.
That movie
Keep
sucked,
going,
dude.
but I would have loved that. Go ahead.
That movie was
So-
terrible.
I walked
Oh.
out after like 45 minutes, to be fair. Completely
Cool.
It
honest.
was
I
really
mean-
short. It was like a set. It was like a best of series of clips for a show that I never watched.
No, I swear to God, I thought the set was from Sid and Marty Croft back in the Land of the Lost. Set, those old, you could tell like everything was styrofoam, like like it wasn't real rock. I swear to God,
And
terrible.
2 actors with charisma showed none of it.
Yeah,
to
and
the
I
movie.
like Adam Driver.
It was.
He's great.
Yeah.
I do too, but it was very short. It was like
That was probably
90.
the best
it was like
90
90
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
yeah. That was probably the best part of it.
Okay.
Yep. Guys that wrote A Quiet. So I have good
Escapism.
drama. Girl didn't speak. They couldn't connect fast enough. So their relationship went nowhere. They only barely had a relationship at the end of the movie. And by then it was too late. It was just, and then there didn't have to be more dinosaur stuff for me. It could have just been like, walking adventure kind of stuff. But it didn't hit either of those things. It was very sad. And then at the end, when they're like taking off in the rocket ship and the dinosaur makes it so that the rocket ship is facing upward, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. So very, very disappointing movie. Number 3, I have Blue Beetle. I probably shouldn't have watched that, but
Sorry.
it was available, and we had a friend over, and we watched terrible movies with him, so we decided to watch
I
it.
bet you putting that on like on those like TV spots, be like, I probably shouldn't have watched this movie.
I knew that it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be that bad, though, because a lot of people were saying that it was like, oh, finally another good superhero movie, but no, it's just as bad as the rest of them.
That's
It
the
had
movie
a
you put
little
on when you
bit-
have guests and you want them to leave early. Just kind of, watching Blue Beetle.
My parents, who watch everything new for the most part, which I don't understand at all, they were like, yeah, that was really stupid, don't watch it. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah,
I'm in the
there's
minority.
nothing
I
really
actually
worth
loved it.
watching in it. It had kind of like a neon 80s vibe, which like had like a slight amount of potential. If it had actually been made in the 80s and was really like schlocky and stupid, maybe it would have been fun. But it was just no.
I like the
main
part when
character-
Susan Sarandon ranted about Israel. Oh wait, that was something else I saw.
Yeah, the main character, like, he actually doesn't like do anything or make any decisions in the whole movie. Like, everything that he accomplishes or does is because either the suit like literally forces him to, because he's just inside it, or it's just the side characters doing stuff for him. It was so sad, so pathetic. Number 2, I've got Meg 2. I was on your stream when y'all were reviewing that, right? And y'all said that there was a giant octopus in it. So I was like, I gotta watch it now because there's a giant octopus in it. And then that was a giant octopus for like 10 seconds of screen time. So that was a waste of time.
But he was there, so he was there. So
Yeah, there were no lies told.
That's true.
That's the legal requirement to not get sued for false advertisement.
I should have listened to everything else that you guys said about it and just not watched it.
Mhm.
And number 1, Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
I hate that
Yeah.
movie.
Thank
What
you.
a stupid movie. I hated it. What else is there to say? I liked the portal gun. I give it 1 star for the portal gun.
With I'll just say real quick, with Dungeons and Dragons, that is only the 3rd film that I did not finish, that I just stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped Freddy Got Fingered, and that was
Oh,
one
come
of
on, that is a
them.
classic. You are
No,
missing
I
out.
may have fallen
did not
asleep
finish
during
that
it.
one, and I didn't finish Doctor Sleep because I found it very distasteful.
Yeah.
But with Dungeons and Dragons, it was like the whole cemetery scene. I stopped after that because it's like it was going on forever. And then I looked at the time. I'm going, there's still another hour of this. I can't. So I just tapped out and I said, I can't.
Yep,
Wow.
that was
I
a
actually
good
thought it was
decision,
much better than we thought we were going to get.
I think. Oof.
Oof. All right,
Yep, I'm done.
Paulie, it's your turn. Give us your worst movies of 2023.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of disappointment, just very disappointing, to just really crappy films. So I think the crappy ones, were the Marvel films. As I didn't see Guardians, and I don't even consider that one but I hear that was really good. So yeah, the Marvels and the Quantumania was just horrid. And let me see what else I have on my list. Hypnotic from Robert Rodriguez was starring Ben Affleck, was really bad. Really bad.
That one just missed my top 10 worst. So yeah, that was not great.
That was really bad. And then also too, in the biggest travesties, Indiana Jones, big time. And then Killers of the Flower Moon was just 3 hours of pretentious garbage.
Ooh.
And it started off with Scorsese giving his liberal speech. It's like, hey, the Indians say it's cool that I did this film. You know, like, why are you even talking, dude? Let your movie speak for yourself in the middle of this pretentious garbage.
So something that's not a part of the movie is how you're judging it.
No,
That's
I'm saying, but that's listen, you put that on the screen that I'm paying for to watch a movie, I'm gonna critique it.
right.
It's
I
part
didn't
of the
see.
movie.
I literally didn't even get that. So I didn't even get a thank you for coming to the movies. What the
well,
hell?
listen, I didn't
That's all I
cut you
saw.
off. So do me the respect and don't cut me off, because you know I'm almost done. This, you know, I know people that worked on this film, and it's like this middle part. It just speaks to white liberalism and their do-gooderism. Give me a break, por favor. You really want to do something for Native American filmmakers and stories, give them that money and let them do their own films, because this is bullshit. I'm done.
I just didn't put it on the phone because it sucked.
Yeah.
Was that all your movies?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
like I said, all the Marvel films. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you remember like Ant-Man and pretty much all.
Yeah, I said Ant-Man. I said the Marvels. I didn't see
Guardians.
Guardians.
Right. There was another one. Yeah. I saw the Flash was terrible. But again, just going into it, I really wanted to love Scorsese Killers, but no. And then what was the other in Indiana Jones?
Okay. I'll say this about what was it, the Killer's Moon. The reason why I didn't put that one on my list is like I didn't have a problem with his directing style. I just don't think, outside of Robert De Niro's performance, I just don't think the message that he was trying to get across with that film actually worked. And like Rob was saying, like, we didn't get that intro at all. But I mean, I don't know if you guys went for a screener, because you know you guys are in California, so maybe they didn't decide to give it to the rest of the country here.
No,
the flyover states.
No, all I saw was just a, thank you for coming to this movie. It was a very brief entrance by Scorsese, but no long speech. Not in my theater.
You know who did give us a speech before the movie? Tom Cruise. Thank you very much.
He jumped out of a plane. Come on. Did he jump out of a plane?
Tom Cruise. Quick little sidebar. Tom Cruise actually showed up here in Atlanta to a theater that I'm like 20 minutes away from for the opening week of the film. So he actually did a surprise appearance at one of the big theaters around here. So even though I still don't put that movie on the top 10, it's just not going to happen.
You know why you want to have Tom Cruise right in front of you in a theater?
Mm-hmm.
He's so short, you can just see right over him. You're fine.
Oh,
Christian, Tom Cruise is my height. So just throwing that out there.
Dude, I'm barely.
Be quiet.
5'9".
You didn't even watch the movie.
I liked the Mission Impossible one. The last one. It was. I mean, it's definitely a part one.
Yeah, that's my biggest knock on it. It's like you can clearly tell I think the decision to split into two movies was a mistake. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Also, the villain in the movie is AI. You can't punch AI or run away from AI. It's
What's manifested in Esai's character, Gabriel,
which
I think is going to even be a bigger payoff in 2.
I hope so, because I like him, but I wasn't sold by his role in that movie. I don't know.
Yeah, not as clear as the other past villains. You're right. That's why Rogue Nation.
But maybe he'll rise to the occasion.
Henry Cavill was a really good one.
Yeah.
One of the other problems was they gave away all the stunts before you actually saw the movie. And they showed him doing the motorcycle stunt like 30 times before the movie came out.
That one looked weirdly fake too. Like, I know he actually did something impressive, but like when in the actual movie, when you see him go over the cliff, you're like, well, that's CGI. So that's not impressive.
A lot of the texture around like the jump, because he did actually jump off of a ramp, but it's like a lot of the texture around it was added CGI after the fact. So it's a very weird thing where
it made it look
right,
fake when it actually wasn't. Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Kudos to just so many close-ups of Haley Atwell. Thank you.
Yeah.
She was great.
Don't forget Vanessa Kirby too. Don't throw her out of the bus, but
Kirby.
Well, that's another thing too that was great about that film. So many beautiful women just kicking ass and great characters.
Yep. Rick, I dread going to you, but we are going to you. We need your
All
top
right.
10
Well, I will
best
try to
Whoa.
make it. I will try to make it as fast as I can, and I doubt I'll hit
Oh, that'd be
like long
great.
explanations. I will say though that when I thought the pretentious three-tower film was Babylon, but we'll leave that for another discussion.
Ho!
Yeah. All right. At number 10, Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It was just yeah. Number
Not great.
9, The Flash. Ugh.
Mm.
What is it? Number 8, My Big Greek Wedding Day, a film that had
Ooh.
no reason to exist. It was basically
Oof.
Nia Vardalos's Greek vacation videos that I was forced to watch. 10, 9, 8.
Probably right.
Number 7, Saltburn. I also thought it was kind of a weird mix of was it The Talented Mr. Ripley and I was like I'm sorry. I know that maybe some people thought Barry Keoghan dancing naked at the end was like the big draw. I was like, no, it wasn't for me. He's like, what is this? Though it took days for me to get that song out of my head. Where are we? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Number 6, Damn Fury of the Gods. It's like,
Ooh.
what is this? That was pretty bad. Was it number 5 now? I think House Party. As someone who loved the original, what was this movie to celebrate LeBron James being brilliant? And yes, he's fine. Declare him the greatest, but it was garbage. Number 4, Magic Mike's Last Dance. I didn't see this. Jacob forced me to watch it, and I don't want to see like yes, I want to see like a 45-year-old Channing Tatum dry hump of like almost 16-year-old Madame Pinot. I must always refer to her as Madame Pinot. It's like there's no plot. It was just terrible. Number 3, The Boogeyman. I don't get scared in movies, and this one didn't scare me. It bored me. It was really bad. Number 2, Book Club: The Next Chapter. And Christian, I should have invited you to see it because I had to see this in Denver, and so I went to the Alamo. And no,
not
I
my
never saw the
fault.
first one. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Yeah. But I'm glad I didn't take you because I want you still as a friend. This was unbelievably bad. It's like, again, we're watching their vacation videos. There was no performances. 80 for Brady. No, 80 for Brady was actually better. And I can't believe 80 for Brady was better than this one with 4 old ladies. I'd rather watch like the Golden Girls go to Italy than watch this again. And my number 1 worst film, for me, there's no other film that can top Joyride as this horribly racist, sexist, idiotic film that had no plot, that was just cringe on every level. I did not laugh once. I think the audience laughed only once.
What
It
movie?
was just Joyride.
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 And
Oh, is that with the Asians?
yes,
Yeah.
this is
Asian
terrible
girls?
Asian. This is terrible Asian representation. I don't know what they were going for, but I just felt genuinely embarrassed for all of them. It was like no, and I still argue that the amount of cocaine that they ingested would have killed them instantly. They would not have survived. But it was just
No.
and that one last on that one. That's the first time I ever heard the song. What is it? Wet Ass Pussy. I've never heard it until then, and I'm going. This is terrible. It's just from the beginning to end. It was just absolutely horrible. I it was no.
Yeah.
Nothing
Did
could top
YouTube
that.
just strike us down because of Rick's profanity?
I don't know. Actually, I do have a point about Strike Down real quick, but I know you have to hop off here, so we'll go ahead and give the floor to you real quick to let people know what you got coming up here, Christian. So thank you for joining us here on the show. So what you got you're working on?
HollywoodInToto.com is my website. The podcast is the Hollywood in Toto podcast. It's going video in 2024, so pretty soon you'll be able to see it. For now, you can just check it out at iTunes or your favorite podcast platform.
All right, and thanks for joining us here on the show, and hopefully we can have you back for another movie night here in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Or good night. Happy New Year.
And then there were 6. But no, we're not gonna be at bar water here. Rob, you're sitting over here with your fresh new mic and your fresh new Houston Oilers jersey. So go ahead and let everyone know what movies infuriated you the most in 2023. Give us your top 10 worst movies of the year.
Let
Yeah,
me
this
just
one's-
let me just interrupt him now because I won't
Yeah,
do
go
it
ahead.
while he's talking.
Yeah, go ahead. Since people have issues with pushback, apparently.
Ah,
Go ahead.
that was it. It was a
Oh, that
joke.
was it.
He
Okay.
interrupted.
You should be able to defend your viewpoint if you. Yeah. Okay. So number 10, Cocaine Bear, Elizabeth Banks. I don't know why she keeps getting
I
work.
forgot that movie came out.
Yikes.
Totally forgot that movie came
I
out.
look, I very low bar. I liked The Hunt. You know what I mean? Like I can go to the movies and just have a good time with a genre movie. This had absolutely nothing like that. Like I didn't even enjoy the bear mauling people. I thought that was really fucking lame. But I mean that's a pretty basic tenet of you're gonna go see a freak out movie. Like you should at least enjoy the deaths. So that was that was definitely disappointment. As much as it can be. Ray Liotta, last appearance on screen. That's sad.
Mm.
That is sad.
Evil Dead Rise. A lot of people like this movie this year that are into horror movies. I kind of thought it was a lot of like gimmicky possession freak out kind of like horror movie. Not I like the Evil Dead series. I like what Sam Raimi did with it. It feels like this is just another Exorcist Believer, a movie I didn't see this year either, which I'm sure on a lot of people's worst of the year list. Asteroid City. Now, this may be a little unfair, but
Yes.
I am sick and tired of Wes Anderson. I'm sick and tired of his coloring book, kitty aesthetic style, and what makes Oppenheimer great is exactly why I hate Asteroid City. It's like this is a waste of my time. It has a million cameos. It has an incredibly talented cast, but like he doesn't do anything with them that's really that interesting. And it's like this postmodern look back at America, and it's just not my thing. If you like Wes Anderson, if you like that, that's fine. There's a lot of people that do. I'm pretty much over it. Number 7, About My Father, the Sebastian Maniscalco, Robert De Niro, just piece of shit movie.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know why this got made. It was completely rudderless for most of its runtime. I think they're trying to push that guy like they pushed Joe Coy with like Easter Sunday. I don't get it. I mean, these comedians were like the time to push them was like 15 years ago, when they went prominent stand-up comedians. But that's
They should
another
probably
one.
stop putting De Niro in comedy movies too, because it doesn't help matters.
He's useless without a script. Like he'll occasionally put in a good performance with Scorsese, but it's like I am so him doing the whole like they didn't let me say my anti-Trump stuff at the awards, and I'm just like, what does that have to do with the movie? What does that have to do with your achievement, your career, anything? Trying to draw attention to your political bullshit. Number 6, I'm surprised it got this high. It should be lower, but it was a bad year. Is it the Indiana Jones movie? This was just a tire fire of like, we're going to roll this out there. We know it's going to get hated on. We know it's a piece of crap, but we're going to do it anyway. We'll put James Mangold so that Steven Spielberg doesn't get the heat. And they did a CGI Indiana Jones. They replaced him with the female counterpart, who, by the way, this is embarrassing. I actually I'm trying to think of the actress's name right now. I actually have liked her and stuff. I liked Fleabag. You know what I mean? But she was
Phoebe
completely
Waller-Bridge.
Yes, she's completely wrong for this. Completely wrong for this. She does not belong.
Did she co-write this movie?
I don't.
I think
I'm sure you're
she
right.
was part of the script, but yeah, not like a co-writer.
But she's beautiful and self-sufficient in the film.
Yeah.
Eso ni te lo crees tú, as my mom would say.
Yeah, whatever helps people sleep at night. But yeah, that's all I can say. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's out of theaters and we can forget it. Number
see it.
Yeah, number 5, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. This is just material thrown in a CGI blender and having 2 people of color leads that are scientists, and hey, we have a GI Joe tie-in. That's about it. It's just a lot of noise, a lot of CGI action on screen, kind of empty filmmaking. And I liked Beast Wars. I watched the Beast Wars cartoon growing up, as bad as that animation was, and that was still more entertaining than what they put on screen here. So, number 5, we have Scream 6, which just all the sort of like virtue signaling nonsense they threw in this movie, it somehow remained in the top 5 of my worst movies of the year from January. Barbie is number 3. Barbie is just it's intellectual property run amok to the point where the people that made it think it's an important movie. There are a bunch of narcissists who want to, basically impart gender roles and how unfair it is, and women get the short end of the stick. And it was just a giant waste of time. And it's a movie definitively for idiots. It's the kind of movie that idiots consume. And yet it made $1 billion. So there you go.
Real quick, did you just give number 4 or did you skip over 4?
3. 4 was Scream 6.
Okay, never mind.
Number 2, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. This is I can't believe this movie exists. I don't know who would greenlight this, who would give the money for this to be made. This is just a giant, violent deconstruction that it's just a creative abortion. It shouldn't exist. It just shouldn't. I really have nothing to say other than that. It's just an ugly, gross, disgusting creation. It shouldn't exist on any level. And number 1, Joyride. So, and Rick pretty much went over why. It's disgusting. It's degenerate. It celebrates the worst behavior. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's not funny. And I don't know.
I feel
everybody
left out.
is enjoying the sort of like, hey, it's great to be a whore. Okay, well,
now
you guys
now,
enjoy
Paulie,
that one.
Yeah, Paulie, now you know how I feel when you all were trashing 65 for the last 30 minutes. So there you go.
Well, I just feel left out now. I really want to see Joyride so I can,
No,
Well,
no.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
join in this thing.
No,
Yeah.
don't watch it. It's
I'm
just
not, dude.
Yeah.
really bad.
I'm not, brother.
Well, that leaves just me now, so I can go ahead and give you guys my top 10 worst movies of the year. And I can go ahead and say this. There were a lot of bad movies. There's a lot of movies that you guys probably would think would be on my top 10 list that just barely skated by, because the way that I've come to judge my top 10 list over the years, because I've watched so many bad movies, it's like whatever made me literally hate the movie as I was walking out of the theater is ones that I actually put on this list. So there were some bad films, don't get me wrong, but there were some ones that were just a little bit worse than that. So my top 10 just barely edging out Barbie outside of my top 10. Shocker, I know, but The Marvels. The Marvels is my number 10 film this year. This was written by 3 women who had no idea what they were doing. This whole thing was disjointed. There was never really a direction, a plot. The villain was terrible. The whole dynamic with the 3 women didn't work at all. And like I said this last night. I've said this a few times now. When I'm watching the scene where Brie Larson is playing jump rope with Beastie Boys playing in the background, I literally said to myself out loud, what the hell am I even watching right now? And it never recovered from that point at all. So the Marvels, I think Internal still has it beat for the worst MCU film ever, but I think this one is probably top 3 worst MCU films of all time. So that's how bad this crap was. And somehow it's only number 10. So the list is going to get even worse from here. Number 9 on my list for worst films was The Creator. Now, somebody asked earlier on the show why we didn't mention The Creator. This film sucks. This film is nothing more than one big commercial for transhumanism and the whole thing of, oh yeah, let's have humans and robots become one. And for me, I just absolutely hated the storyline. I think it was a subversive piece of crap. I could give it a little bit of credit for, hey, at least they visually made some of the parts look good, but the story is bad. And look, I don't know who keeps trying to make John David Washington a leading man in Hollywood. He's not his father. We need to stop with this right now, because he didn't do a good job in this film. He didn't do a good job in Tenet. So I mean, this whole experiment with him just has to completely be done with now. I mean, I just don't see it with him moving forward. Number 8 was Scream 6. I hate Scream 6. This was probably my number 2 worst film of the year for a large part of the year, and somehow it's number 8, which tells you how bad the year was. But the whole thing was just stupid. And let's go ahead and just get to the ending here. It's so woke and it's so progressive in the fact that if you're white and you're not gay, you're pretty much the killer of the film. But not only that, the whole thing comes down to the point of her ex-boyfriend's family were the killers the entire time, We're supposed to believe that the entirety of the first film, the entirety they were together, she never saw a single photo of her father, his brother, his sister, because she should have known like within seconds that they were the killers. But apparently she had no idea what any of his family looked like, which just seemed to be too big of a stretch for me. This is just one of the dumbest films that I've seen all year, and I'm glad that the wokies within this franchise have completely turned on themselves over absolute nonsense, because now we're not going to get Scream 7. So this whole Scream franchise is going to dead. So live by the woke, die by the woke. That's all I have to say about this awful movie. Number 7, we mentioned it a little bit early here, House Party. This was just absolutely garbage. LeBron James sucks as a movie producer. You need to stop. Nothing about this film made any sense. It's basically like, oh, here's this famous rapper from like 20 years ago you guys vaguely remember, or hey, here's that basketball player who hasn't played in 7 years. And that's pretty much the whole thing is. It's just celebrity worship throughout the entire film over and over again. And then they went on some weird thing about the Illuminati towards the end. And I'm like, what is this movie? House Party sucks. And they had the audacity to name it after the movie that people actually liked from 30 years ago. So yeah, that one gets big heat with me. House Party is number 7. Number 6 is a movie I just watched, my last movie of 2023, which is The Color Purple. And if Barbie is basically the flag bearer for white girl feminism, The Color Purple is the flag bearer for black girl feminism. It's really just awful. It's 2.5 hours long inexplicably, and the whole film is about this one girl who literally every single man in her life is terrible. Her father is terrible, the man who raised her is terrible, her husband is terrible. Every man in her life is either a rapist, an abuser, or a coward. And the message within the movie through song is that black women should never submit to a man under any circumstances whatsoever. And that's your movie for 2.5 hours. I wanted to die. If it wasn't my last movie of the year, I probably would have walked out within 40 minutes. So definitely don't waste your time with that movie. It's dreck. Number 5. Go ahead.
It's funny because the original, I've seen the original, I haven't seen the new one, and my takeaway from that movie is every black man will hurt you in your life.
Yeah,
that seems to be the takeaway.
And this one is like almost blow for blow the same message in this movie here. So thanks, Oprah. Number 5 is a movie called Knock at the Cabin, the M. Night Shyamalan movie that came out earlier this year. It looked interesting enough in the trailer, and M. Night has had some better movies over the last few years. I wouldn't say they were good, but he's gotten better over the last few years. This has been terrible. This was absolutely just stupid. The whole concept of this film is that apparently the end of the world is happening, and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse need this random gay couple to sacrifice themselves because their love is so pure that it's the only thing that can stop the end of the world from happening. And it's one of the most laughable, stupid movies that I've seen this year. And here's another little side rant. Can we please stop pretending like Dave Bautista is a good actor? Can we stop with this whole narrative? Like I get it. Like he's been in I guess bigger movies based on where his position is in Hollywood. He's not good at them. He's never been anyone's be like, oh wow, Dave Bautista, that guy can really act. Like no, like, he's absolutely just he's a big dumb oaf. Like, that should be very real. That's exactly what he is, and that's all he's ever going to be. This film is a complete waste of time. I hated it. Number 4, The Blackening, another film that I hated with all my fiber. This movie is literally Black Twitter the movie. So if you're a fan of Black Twitter, they literally made an entire script around that concept here. I think the writer of this film worked on The Daily Show, so that's all you need to know about this film. And it's basically 2 hours of racial hatred and racial division disguised as a comedy. And that's all you're going to get out of this movie. If you're not looking for anything else, there's literally nothing else to look forward to here. This movie sucks. Don't watch it. I shouldn't have watched it. Surprisingly, I differentiated here from Rob and from Rick here. I did not put Joyride number 1 worst movie. It fell to number 3. Joyride, we all saw it. It is a degenerate derivative piece of crap, one of the most insufferable films I've ever seen. And I knew this going in because this is a Seth Rogen produced movie, so we all know what we're going to get out of Seth Rogen at this point. You're going to get a lot of dumb sex jokes, dumb drug related jokes, and it's like he's basically still doing Tropic Thunder like 15 years later, and the gimmick is not over anymore. Like I said, one person that mentioned it in the chat earlier, your protagonist, the person who we're supposed to feel bad for, gets double teamed by the basketball team, at one point of the movie, and we're supposed to be that totally happened, and we're supposed to endure with these women, and we're supposed to view them as protagonists. By the time we got to the whole K-pop wet ass pussy thing, I was like, I had already checked out at that point. I think I literally walked away from this film about 50 minutes into it. This movie is one of the worst piece of craps that I've ever seen in my life. I know I seem like I'm saying that a lot, but that's because the movies that I'm watching progressively get worse, so it's actually true when I say this. But yeah, Joyride is number 3. Number 2 goes to a film I'm kind of surprised you two didn't add this to your list, 80 for Brady. When I thought about this film, I just thought to myself, this is a film that shouldn't even exist. Like, this should not even be a movie. This is basically, if House Party is LeBron James stroking his ego, this film is Tom Brady stroking his ego as a producer. There's nothing, I can't say a single positive thing about this movie. Like, the most positive thing I can say about it is that, hey, Guy Fieri's in the movie, and then I have to ask myself, why is Guy Fieri in this movie? And that's all the mustard I can get out of this entire film. This is just like out one ear, out the other. It doesn't work at all. It's just, don't watch it. It's one of those movies that shouldn't even have been made. Exactly. If he dies, he dies. And then of course, this is a movie that I've been telling you guys about here over the last couple of weeks. I know you guys didn't get a chance to see it, but I do have to point this out. My worst movie of 2023, and quite possibly the worst movie that I've seen in the last several years, is a movie called Dix the Musical. So if you haven't seen this, this apparently is some Broadway offshoot by A24. Some Broadway offshoot by A24. And here's the setup to this movie plot wise. You have 2 flaming homosexuals pretending to be straight. And the whole concept is that they were brothers and their parents got divorced. So they decided they're going to get their parents back together with one another. That plan fails, but somehow at the end of the film, they end up having sex with one another, getting married, and their marriage is ordained by a flaming homosexual man referred to himself as God. And the last bit of the film is that they sing a song called God is a Faggot. And that's literally the movie. So I said in my review for this movie, this is literally a movie that only appeals to rich New Yorkers who voted for Biden and literally no one else. No one else is going to watch this movie and like it at all. It's every bit as degenerate, promotes incest, progressivism, blasphemy. It's just one of the... Like I said, I had to put this up with every other film that I've given my number 1 worst of the year to, and I think that this is the worst movie that I've seen in the 8 years that I've been reviewing movies. That's how bad this film is. It doesn't even have, it's barely even like 80 minutes long, so it barely even justifies being a movie in and of itself. And for whatever reason, A24 put some money behind it and threw it out there in theaters thinking that, oh, people are going to love this. No, absolutely not.
So, Jacob, what you're saying is that this movie will appeal to the queers for Palestine.
Yeah, it will appeal to anyone who's basically going to be first in line in the lake of fire. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that's if you love that, then exactly Fletcher said. But is it woke? Surprisingly, no. No, it's awful. Yeah, like I said, I'm not even joking when I say it quite possibly would be like the worst movie I've seen in the last 8 years since I've been doing movie reviews professionally. So
look, I'll just say about Dix the Musical, that's on you. I mean, I think just the title alone would be enough to scare people away.
Mm-hmm. And you know why I watched it? And I'm not even lying to you. You know why I watched it? It was because the only reason that I watched this movie, because I thought to myself, could this possibly be worse than Joyride? That was my entire motivation of watching this film. It's like, because we were all at one point going, Joyride is runaway number 1 worst movie of the year. I thought to myself, could this actually be worse than Joyride? And I watched it, and shockingly enough, it was in fact worse than Joyride. So,
well, I'll say that. I know you put 80 for Brady. I put Book Club, the next chapter. It's pretty much the same story.
Literally.
I mean, yeah, with just
I think it even has like the same actresses in it.
Yes, Jane Fonda's in both of them, and Jane Fonda plays the nymphomaniac in both of them. So it's not a stretch here.
All of your top 3 worst films, I haven't seen any of them. They absolutely sound dreadful. Like, I'm kind of scared of what you just presented.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, knowingly, and I admit I've watched a lot more movies than a lot of other people do, so I get to see a lot more bad movies than a lot of other people do. So I understand that these aren't particularly most main. I think like obviously Joyride got big promotion during the summer when that film came out, so that's probably the most mainstream out of the ones that we talked about here. But yeah, I mean, there's some really awful films that come out in the year.
I'm just wondering because the three of us here who saw
Fletcher.
the three of us who saw Joyride, we all hated it. It's all in our worst. All these other critics who loved it and who gave it an A and who really thought that the slutty one that makes penis art, that she should get a supporting actress nomination out of this. What movie did they really see? I mean, because what is it they saw that we three at least did not see for this absolute garbage? What did
And
they?
I pointed this out when it came out that the lead actress, she's like Kennedy Center honors, like singer, and like, you know what I mean? Like she has amazing talent. Could consider, and she's in this fucking degenerate piece of crap movie. You know, and I'm amazed at how many movies did not make my worst of the year. Fast 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The Marvels, which again was not, I won't call it a terrible movie, but it was not very good. It just was very bland.
Yeah.
That's my thing, is like, I'm amazed the movies that didn't make it. So, but you know, there's always next year.
Yeah,
I'll say this just real quick. Just throw out a few movies that barely missed my list this year. Like I said, we mentioned Hypnotic. That was just a stupid film. Like that was just dumb.
Well, again, you know, really quickly with Hypnotic was that it was a big, besides it being horrible, but it was from Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is really fallen by the wayside. So that was just a big disappointment for me.
Yeah,
like I said, the storyline was just completely nonsensical to me. Which
And
is why
he's
I couldn't connect
producing the remake of The Faculty. You guys got that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Other honorable mentions for bad were Anyone But You. Just missed my list this year. Just came out. It was the movie with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. That one just missed my list this year. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 also just missed my list this year. Barbie, obviously, and then there was another film. I'm not sure how many of you guys saw it. It was with Chris Evans and Anna de Armas called Ghosted. It barely just missed my top 10 as well, but that was a film where I think about 25 minutes in, I just gave up on it. It was so bad. Like those two do not have as much.
It was an AI written movie.
Really?
It was literally
like
made.
Was there at least good eye candy or no?
Well, Anna de Armas.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
but it was still.
I mean, automatically you got good eye candy, but I mean, the director and the producers, I think they said they literally used AI to get every trope that they could, so that it would hit the algorithm and be something that people would want to click on.
Is that available on Netflix? This Ghosted?
That is an Apple. Is
Apple. I have Apple.
Yeah. Well, if you have Apple TV,
if you've
go
got
watch
Apple
Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris is on my list, and Sharper.
Yeah, that's on the Apple.
Yeah.
And did you guys see Blackberry?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not.
It was okay.
No.
I was
okay.
not as impressed as everyone else has been with it.
Glenn
I'll stick
Howerton is
to
good. The guy from It's Always Sunny. He's definitely good in it.
I'll stick to Tetris.
Yeah.
Well, real quick before I start letting you guys sign off here, 2023, I'll say this to mark off 2023. There was a lot of good films in 2023. I think we kind of undersold. Probably wasn't as many as in theatrical releases, but there were a few good movies outside of the U.S. There were a few movies that got limited releases on streaming services. So because of that, I say that 2023 wasn't as terrible as a year as a lot of other people would, but I can definitely see that if you're just strictly like a blockbuster type movie seeker, you probably didn't have much to go off here. But there was also a lot of like really, really bad movies. And I mentioned this when Rob was talking here. I didn't know Sarah, when she was talking about how many movies that she gave like 5 stars to. I keep going back to 2019 and thinking to myself, there was 3 movies in 2019 I gave 5 stars to. It was Joker, Ford versus Ferrari, and 1917 were the 3 movies I gave 5 stars to. And I go back to that year. It's like that was the last year that we had like really truly great movies, and we haven't really had a year like that since. So we've been on the downside of things. But if you think things are getting any better, they're not. Here's a list of movies that are coming out in 2024. All of these are already in post-production. So here you go. I'm gonna do my best Red Letter media impersonation here. Joker 2, Dune 2, Smile 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Venom 3, Terrifier 3, Gladiator 2, Bad Boys 4, Deadpool 3, Inside Out 2, Beetlejuice 2, Paddington 3, Ghostbusters 3, Ghostbusters 4, Despicable Me 4, Kung Fu Panda 4, and Beverly Hills Cop 4. And just in case that's not enough for you, here are some other vaguely rebooted sequel movies that are also coming out this year. You have a new Alien movie coming out, a new Twister movie coming out, a new Mad Max movie coming out, a new Crow movie coming out, a new John Wick spinoff, a Transformer spinoff, a Lion King spinoff, a Lord of the Rings spinoff, Wallace and Gromit, and of course another Planet of the Apes movie. And this is what you have to look forward to in 2024. So, who's excited?
I'm excited for Dune 2. I'm not going to lie.
Dune 2 might be good. Yeah.
Dune 2, and it's the second part. It's not a, it's not a sequel. It's the second part to the first movie. Even though even though it's Dune 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got several films that I'm interested in seeing. So
I'm sure most of the good ones will be ones that are not on those lists.
Right. No, and they're not sequels, or they're actually new smaller films that are getting releases.
Yeah, that no one knows about yet.
Right.
And I know in the future we've got the Not Kang dynasty coming our way, so there's always that.
But
well, let's go ahead and wrap this show up and give you guys a chance to promote what you got coming up. Sarah, I bullied you into being here tonight, so I guess we'll start off with you.
Thank you very much.
What you got coming up.
Oh, I don't know. Nothing probably. You can follow me on Twitter at HTWAM_Sarah and read my Godzilla -1 review. That's all I ask.
All right, we'll certainly do that for you. Brahma, for your first appearance here on this show. Obviously, the background is not nearly as bare as it used to be, but I guess you're in transition at the moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a studio inside the house instead of the garage because I smoke way too many cigarettes sitting out there in the garage all day. So, yeah, I started moving it this morning. So yeah, there's nothing around me yet, but thanks for having me. It was fun. I've got, Bourbon and Boarding is in 3 hours on my channel with That 70s Rock Fan, where we talk about bourbon and hockey. So if you happen to like hockey, come check it out. It's a pretty fun show. And then you can catch me on with Comics Division the rest of the time.
I would actually be on your hockey show if it didn't start at like midnight on the East Coast.
We moved it to 9:15 Mountain, so it's 11:15 Mountain or 11:15 Eastern now.
So I might make time to stop by one of these weeks.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Rob, here you go, Money Man. What you got coming up?
Rob.
Yeah, so finishing up a pretty extensive movie watching campaign here in 2023. I think I'm gonna fall short of 1,000 movies, about like 992 or something like that, which is kind of accomplishment. And I mean, other than sheer numbers, not sure what, but I think I'm at the point now where I'm sick of just bitching at people on Twitter all day, where I'm actually going to try to, more consistently write reviews, which I've been saying for the last 2 years, but I'm going to actually try to really do it this time and figure the new year is as good a time as any to do that. So you can keep an eye out for that on my Twitter. Football season's coming to an end, which means movie watching is going to ramp up even more. So, and now I actually have a decent microphone and audio setup, so I don't sound like a hobo. So just, keep an eye on my Twitter. My announcements will be there for when I get things rolling. I might do a weekly movie show starting in the spring, kind of when I get my new computer. So just keep an eye out for that.
And you're a handsome man, sir.
Thank you.
May I say that? May I say that?
Well, I mean, look at this fresh jersey he's got going.
Yeah,
on right
looks
now.
great,
It's like,
man.
You got the throwback. It's almost like 2003 John Cena going on here.
He's got a good smile, you know.
It was one of those like knockoff Indian websites where I didn't know if my debit card was going to get ripped off. But hey, hand stitched jersey came 30 days later, so it was
Hey,
Get it, brother.
you're
30
talking to
days
someone.
later.
You're talking to someone who bought an Odell Beckham jersey one time
Whoa.
from China. So
Oh,
yeah, I've been there. I've been there. All right, Rick, what you got coming up?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna finish up my reviews, show off my little sparkly Christmas sweater, and yeah, I'm also hoping to start up a YouTube channel, hopefully better sound and better visual, and I just yeah, more reviews and hopefully working on the YouTube channel, the more creative writing, and eager to see Rob the channel, though Roberto Uncut and Uncensored is almost terrifying. So there's that. So yeah, that's it. Just keep an eye out. I'll give you updated on how my channel, when it comes up, all that good stuff. Thank you, everyone.
All right. And Paulie, of course, we got you too. So let's go ahead and tell everyone what you got coming up, my friend.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me into the panel. You guys are great. And the chat, got a couple Slantinos that came on through. Good to see you guys here. It was a lot of fun. All right, so we being a Latino Slant we've made our website official, thelatinoslant.com. You got the YouTube channel. You have articles that we're starting to write, and you have the hyperlink to my novella that came out. It's out. You can get it ebook or printed. I got 100 here that the initial campaign that we did. We oversold it, which was wonderful. So I'll be sending those off to all you good people, autographs and all that, personal messages. But really is an incredible community here. A lot of our channels do kind of overlap, and I love that. So yeah, that's what we got going on. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a kick-ass 24. Peace and love, everybody.
All right. Let you guys know what I got coming up here. So, as you know, I've been off for the last 10 days. We took a little bit of a break because of the holiday, but we're back. So, I got my normal schedule up. Quick little note here. Our last Barroom podcast from the week before actually blew up. Almost got like 1,000 views, which is our highest viewed episode ever. And then somehow we ended up getting the video taken down from YouTube because we played literally 10 seconds of the end of a UFC fight that happened like 2 weeks before that stream even happened. And now I have to go and dispute that whole thing to get the stream back up. But it is still up on Rumble. So Rumble still has the full stream, but it's not on YouTube for the time being. I'm working on getting that fixed. So just letting you guys know what was going on there. As far as what we got coming up in the future, Monday we'll be back for the Bible Ends podcast. That'll be episode 24, I want to say 24, 25, 24. Episode 24 of the Bible Ends podcast be on Monday, New Year's Day. We're going to talk about who is going to follow the Antichrist. And this is going to be a very interesting series that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks. So they'll join us then. We have episode 80 of the Barroom podcast, which will be back this Tuesday night. We're going to be talking about the whole controversy with this Riley Gaines and the conservative calendar that people have been arguing about for days now. We're going to talk about why this is all stupid. We're going to talk about the collapse of the Scream franchise on Tuesday night as well. Sydney Sweeney is still pushing back against feminists, claiming she's being sexualized for a music video that she was in. And we're going to talk about the whole AEW Chris Jericho situation, which is trending on Twitter right now. We're going to talk about that in more detail on Tuesday when obviously all the details come out. We're going to wait for the press conference later tonight as well. So we'll talk about that. That's going to be this Tuesday. Keep in mind, in 2 weeks, shout out for you guys here in 2 weeks, we will be doing Echo Mania episode 82 for the Barroom. We're going to be talking about Echo for the entire 2 hours. We're reviewing the whole thing when it drops.
On that Marvel show?
2 hours of Echo. So we've been literally the only ones on the internet hyping up Echo as the greatest superhero comic book show of all time. So as a result, we're going to dedicate an entire show just to Echo, and it's going to be great and it's going to be amazing. So
with these two guys?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
Wow.
it's going to be fun for everyone involved.
I'm actually going to subscribe to Disney Plus to
Don't
do
don't do
this.
that. No, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
There's other ways.
No, I'm too square. to
He
do that.
doesn't believe in the pirate sea. So I mean, it's nothing we can.
I
do
didn't
for him.
say. I didn't say. Did I say that? I just said there's other ways.
I'm
Three
sure.
letters. VPN. It's 3 letters.
That too.
VPN.
No,
Oh, and one more thing. You wonder what we're gonna be doing. Real quick.
Remind me about your Scream thing. I want to say something really quick after you're done.
Oh yeah, okay. So obviously next Friday we're gonna be back. We're not gonna be reviewing any movies next Friday. We're gonna save that for 2 weeks, but we will be doing another movie night next Friday night. And we have this little thing here called the wheel, right? So we decide what movie we're gonna be watching and talking about next week here on the show. So here's our wheel right now. Here's all the movies that is on the wheel. We have Halloween 3, we have Live from Baghdad, Ghost World. Tremors has been on here for nearly 2 years. We have never landed on it, but it's still there.
Wow.
The 1946 film Notorious. We have 1990s Lionheart, Car Washed, Used Cars with Kurt Russell, Blazing Saddles, and of course, Small Soldiers. So let's figure out what movie we're actually going to be watching next Friday night here on the show. And are we ever going to land on Tremors? No.
It's a new
not
year.
this
You
week.
never know.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes.
Oh.
Next Friday night, we will be watching Blazing Saddles live here on Rumble, on Twitch, and on Twitter as well. So we finally get to land on something good this week. So there we go. To everyone who joined us on our stream here tonight, obviously Mephisto, who was here with us earlier tonight, Christian Toto, go check out what they're working on their channels, on their platforms as well. Shout out to Spencer, Top Dog, Bad Take Bojan, Eddie Brock, who was here with us tonight, Zombie Box Reviews, Doba Fett, Eggsy, who's also here with us tonight, Henry Thorne was with us a little bit tonight, Leslie Tarkin, who else? I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone here. Josh, condescending Josh, obviously was with us. Nate Fletcher Williams joining us on the show here tonight. Awesome One joining us here tonight. And I want to make sure I got everyone. And it looks like we did. So, all over the place podcast. By the way, I just did a podcast with these guys. Go check it out on their channel, on their platform. We had a very interesting discussion about our best and worst movies of the year as well. So, I know Paulie had a point real quick before we get out of here.
No, I'm curious to hear your conversation on the Scream thing. I'm writing an article on that whole.
Oh, when we do it, that's what he said.
Right, when you do it, I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's take. I'm doing it as far as So I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be on Tuesday night when we return for the Barroom podcast. So until then, thank you everyone who joined us on all 3 platforms here tonight. We're gonna go ahead and sign off. We're gonna hit our outro. Our outro isn't as good as Culture's outro, but I like to think it's pretty damn good. So outside of that, we'll see you guys, if not Monday night, if not Tuesday night, next Friday night here on the show. Well, Friday night because technically it's Saturday. But we'll see you guys later. Adios. Goodbye. Wave to the crowd.
Happy New Year. Prospero año.
Sarah
Happy New
is
Year.
waving even though you can't see it.
I actually am.
It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Okay.
Get out! Get out! You get the hell out!
Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James, bitch.